Throw some D's on it.
We're men, and we're not afraid to say that we love other men.
What up, G?
My life is nothing I thought it should be and everything I was worried it would become, because for 50 seconds I thought there was monsters on the world.
What Argylle stable of misery do you live in if you fantasize about driving a bus or sitting on a bench? What's next, a breakfast eating simulator? Oh, careful not to burn your digital toast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go play an office simulator. Oh, no, wait, that's my job.
Whoa, I think I just figured something out, Beavis. What? This sucks. Yeah, it really sucks. This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
Don't say no for an answer. There's no
Can I see more white women getting clotheslined, please?
People don't understand. People don't understand. People like me. 'Cause these eyes can see right through you. Don't be surprised.
So Snoop Dogg wins the match because Shane McMahon blew his knee out.
Damn, that was bad, bro.
People don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Okay, look, real quick before we get started. Like, so when the intro was playing, I can see everyone's faces, and like everyone is like dying during out the entire intro. No matter how many times we've done this show, the one part that gets no reaction out of anyone, nobody laughed when Snorlax got hit by the Camry. He's like literally dead. Like, that didn't get a pop out of like anyone. Like, to me, that was like one of the funniest parts in the whole intro. Like, it goes right over everyone's head.
I didn't see it.
Play
it again.
All right, then, hold on. We'll get here in 1 second. Hold on.
We're men, and we're not afraid to say that we love other men.
What up, G?
My life is nothing I thought it should be and everything I was worried it would become, because for 50 seconds I thought there was monsters on the world.
What Argylle stable of misery do you live in if you fantasize about driving a bus or sitting on a bench? What's next, a breakfast eating simulator? Oh, careful not to burn your digital toast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go play an office simulator. Oh, no, wait, that's my job.
The line literally said that he's asleep, that he'll never wake up again. Like, I don't know how anyone can.
That's horrifying. Poor thing.
Welcome everyone to episode 102 of the Ballroom Podcast. I know you guys have been complaining for quite some time that there's been a big sausage fest here on the show for the last few weeks. So this time I brought not one, not two, but three ladies here on the show, so you guys can shut the hell up now. Joining us once again is our good buddy, Mr. Rob Mono. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing just fine. I'm so happy that you're all with me on this wonderful journey.
Rob loves life, everyone. I just want to make sure you guys knew that. Also joining us once again after having been here for a few months that we haven't noticed. Our good buddy Nerdigans is back with us. How you doing, Nerdigans?
I'm doing good. My notifications have been blowing up all day because of a censorship conversation, but other than that, I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm. Also joining us outside of his home, drinking a Corona just like a true Mexican. Our good buddy Eddy Brock is here. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm doing great. Listen, everybody, my mic is going to stink most of the show, so I'm just going to be the three things I usually am. Good looking, talking about 90s cartoons, and kicking back and having a good time. I can't wait to enjoy this show.
Also, someone who hasn't been here in a while, and we have kept note of this, our good buddy C.S. Johnson is here, who I think she might be harassing her kids tonight. So, I don't know. Are you there? She's not there. We'll get back to her later. And then also making her barroom debut after 102 episodes, joining us on the show tonight. A good buddy Beverly is joining us. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Sorry that I was late to the pre-show stuff. I had to put away 30 baby chicks into the coop, so that was fun to catch all of those.
That seems like an adventure on your end.
It was, yeah.
Well, joining us here also, we got a bunch of people in the chat with us because we're here on Rumble, we're here on YouTube, and we are here on X. I guess it's officially called X now. It's just very, very annoying when I try to do it.
I still call it Twitter. I reject the X agenda.
Unless we're going to rename it after DMX. I don't think I'm going to just reject it wholesale. But over on our Rumble side, a good buddy Keith is joining us over there, saying that he waiting to enjoy the ballroom here tonight. On our YouTube side of things, a lot of people are trickling in. Spencer is here. I'm pretty sure he's listening somewhere on his toilet, saying to hurry up with the show. It's like, well, we'll get to the show when we get to the show. It's my show. Yes, I am in fact pulling a Kathleen Kennedy by attacking my own audience because that's what we do around here. Top Dog joining us here. Guys, he has our first question here tonight. It says, for you guys, what is your best action cartoon? So I don't know. For me, I don't know if this actually counts as like action cartoon. I just always go with Cowboy Bebop. I know technically it's anime, but it's animated, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say that there. So Rob, do you have a particular one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably biased, but I'll just say Batman the Animated Series because it's a classic and I grew up with it, so why not?
I was going to say something similar. I like the DC animated universe. I love like Superman and Batman and Justice League Unlimited, and of course Stack Shock too.
What counts as action? I mean, does like fantasy action count, or does it have to be like?
I guess there has to be some physical fight at some point in time that makes it qualify.
I mean, like a lot of anime, like Fairy Tail is one of my favorite anime, and they do a lot of fighting, but it's like sometimes like magic sword fighting.
I think the legal definition for action is that someone has to either get punched in the face, there has to be some kind of a chase or some kind of explosion, and that counts as action.
Oh, okay. So I would have to pick most of Filmation stuff, probably He-Man and all that. But honestly enough, one of the best action animated cartoons of all time in the 80s, Rainbow Bright. I would actually, I rewatched like the first season of it. It's only 8 episodes.
How many characters get punched in the face?
There's 3. And there's explosions. There's because it's the same writers as He-Man and all of that, right? So they had to put all that stuff in order to get you to watch the show. So Rainbow Bright, ironically enough, go out and watch it.
All right. Oh, I know we had another question on there just real quick, but Leslie Tarkin is also joining us here. To see you tonight, Leslie. Neozoic has our traditional question saying, howdy, people in the chat. Which musical, classic musical Broadway film would you rather watch? West Side Story, the 61 version, or The Sound of Music 65?
Well, West Side Story, hands down. If we're talking about the classics, yeah, West Side Story.
Would you take that one, film buff?
I can't. I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm so bad with musicals. Look, West Side Story has the dumb, like knife dancing, knife fighting thing.
Yeah.
But that's what it was
fight.
like in the 50s in the
That's
Bronx.
And people who used to fight like this.
So, and I know it has great art direction. It has great cinematography. It was well directed by Robert Wise, but I'd have to go with The Sound of Music just because I just think the West Side Story is really dumb.
All right.
It's terrible because they have two of my favorite songs. They have West Side Story has Maria, which I absolutely love, Maria, and I love and Sound of Music has few of my favorite things, which is a classic. So
sorry, what was the question? Favorite musical?
So basically, you want to pick between West Side Story or Sound of Music. Between
I actually haven't seen West Side Story yet.
What?
I know. I have written a music and produced a musical before, but so it's not like I'm against musicals, but I just haven't actually watched West Side Story. I did perform in the orchestra pit of Sound of Music last summer, though. So,
I mean, this
it's
should
okay.
be
I wouldn't have seen West Side Story if I didn't make myself watch it, like as an educational thing. So don't feel bad.
Did you learn a lot? What did it teach you?
No, not really.
No.
But I'm glad. I'm just glad I saw it just for the experience of it. But
you didn't appreciate the love. You didn't appreciate the love between a white boy, and a Puerto Rican girl that's just trying to make it out in 1950s Bronx.
Hey, at least the 61 version is in English. So I mean, there's that, right?
Oh.
Vroom vroom.
Somebody just drove by in his Honda Civic right now. Don't
in the ghetto. In the ghetto. That's where I'm at right now.
I was going to get the Rick James version.
Oakland? Are you in Oakland? I know you're in like the San Francisco area. So.
Oh, I was born in Oakland.
I'm like 30 miles away from Oakland.
Okay.
I'm like 30 miles north of Oakland.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, I probably know where.
Wise choice.
I grew up in the Bay Area, so I probably know where you're at.
Okay, is Rob the only person on this show who's never been to the state of California?
Wait, yes, yes, I have.
Oh, you have?
I went to Oakland for that Raiders Titans game in like 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Which fan are you? A Raiders or Titans fan?
Oh, Titans fan. Yeah.
Okay.
Raiders games are just cheap.
You gotta
That's why you go to the Raiders games. Well, not anymore, but.
Yeah, it was the second to last game at Oakland Coliseum, so it was kind of a bittersweet. Like, oh hey, it's my first game and last game here.
I remember a guy who got drunk at their tailgate for a Raiders Patriots game in Oakland, and he got arrested an hour before the game actually started. That's how drunk he was in the parking lot at the Coliseum.
Wow. At the BART station.
Of course. No, I remember when I went to, this was my first football game. It was a Raiders Colts game. And this is when Peyton Manning was still on the Colts. And we were walking back to the BART station, and someone a Raiders fan poured a beer on this Colts fan.
Yeah. Dude, back in the day, because obviously I'm from San Diego, so I know all about like Chargers Ravens rivalry. People used to get stabbed back then. That was in the parking lot. That was in the stadium.
Yeah.
Those were my days.
Yeah.
Well, there was the Niners and Raiders fans too. Those games were dangerous.
Yeah.
Like people would get shot.
Mm-hmm. I grew up 3 blocks away from the Candlestick. Every single year they had every single time they had the Raiders and Niners, it was something you had to lock your doors for because it was going to go nuts. You knew it.
You knew someone was going to get shot or someone was going to get
something.
Stabbed.
And then they thought they could get away. It's like, we all know you live across the bay. It's like, where are you going to run to?
It was a simpler time. It was just a simpler
It was
time.
a better time.
Dope Effect's here. Vanya is also here with us tonight. Dope Effect's going with West Side Story, just like Nerdigans. Empire Strikes Back with Williams, probably his best masterpiece. I know there was John Williams' question earlier. DK's here with us tonight as well. Who else do we got here? I don't say poor Snorlax. Porlax, you don't know Porlax got exactly what he deserved. That's all.
Yeah, what did Snorlax do to you?
He's a public nuisance. He's literally in the way.
You block the path.
Get out of the
You
way.
know how much? You know how much quicker my speed run would be if it wasn't for Snorlax?
In real life, I think it would have. You could have just crawled over him, though. It's only a detriment in the game where you're not allowed to climb.
Bet you if somebody put like a dynamite over that cave, you'd get through that way.
You would think he would just voluntarily go into a Pokeball since it's basically like a big bed for him.
Yeah.
No, he didn't go in the Pokeball though. In the anime, like they tried and he didn't go in.
It's too big to fit.
This is Ash
Right,
sucks.
he's too big for it. You had to get a huge Pokeball for him.
No, you need the heavy ball for that.
Can we be like straight here? Ash is a bona fide scrub. It took him like 20 years to win like one tournament, and he retired.
It's not his fault. They kept resetting him. Like Black and White was a terrible one because they completely reset him. He was really good in XYZ though.
Oh, I loved XYZ.
Yeah, I can't.
Good.
I tried doing Sun and Moon. And I had to stop though. I couldn't
do I couldn't with
the
that.
animation change. I still can't handle that. Veronica Taylor is no longer the English voice of him either. So.
I had to get used to it for a minute, and then like after that redesign for Sun and Moon, I was like, no.
Yeah,
I can't.
This is every This is every lunch table in 1999.
Nerd alert!
This is still my lunch table.
Nerd.
I love the Mew stuff in your background too, all the anime things.
Yeah, thank you. I collected it like over the past 8 years in particular, like 8-9 years since I started my YouTube channel.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll get to the background.
Got hit by a bus. I just saw that.
You just read that. That's Alex versus Evil joining us here tonight as well. Leslie wants to know what breed of chicken do you have, Beverly?
I answered in the chat, but so the 30 are our meat chickens. Actually, it's our first time doing meat chickens, and emotionally, I'm not prepared for this. But they are Rhode Island Reds, and then we have layers that are various kinds. We're going to keep some of the Rhode Island Reds as layers, and one of them is a rooster. My other rooster recently passed away a couple of weeks ago, so it's been a rough few months. Keep having different animal issues though, so that's why I saw this rooster. He's feisty, but so we're going to keep him. I have geese and disabled ducks.
I was going to ask about the geese. Are they doing okay?
The son, the baby who's enormous, he's got a weird eye problem. So I've been having to give him a bunch of different medications on that. And because his swelling was all over like the side of his face, which terrified me. And now it's just like in the eye, and I keep switching. I have talked to different vets and stuff too. So I'm like trying different medications and things for him. So I'm hoping it's like not getting worse now. We're at like this, but it's just kind of like this dark circle, and his eyes kind of red. So other than that, just disaster everywhere, but they're doing okay.
Yeah. I know Orange is here, but we're not going to acknowledge him for a couple of minutes because he is late to the show. But I wanted to go ahead and give a quick little spotlight on our good friend Beverly joining us here. There was a question somebody asked earlier. I think it was actually Maurice. It's like, I want to know a little bit more about you. So let me give you a quick 30-second rundown. Tell people about you and why you're here and why you have so many instruments in your background over there.
I don't know. You have asked me a few times to come on here, and I keep not having the availability, and now I do. And then you said that you just wanted some females on here. So now I know why you were asking me to come today. So I feel sort of objectified. I have a lot of instruments because I play keyboard. This is my keytar. Her name is Epsilon. I just dabble in different musical instruments. So I play the guitar, and then I have a bunch of other things too that I kind of dabble in. I have the Green Ocarina of Time. So what were the other things I have to say? I stream on Rumble. We do Wednesday, we do like news, except we just kind of ramble a lot. And then Thursdays we do similar thing where we choose movies and TV shows and talk about them. So that's on Rumble at the dim side. I think that's everything about me. There's nothing else interesting. This is my cat, Corey. He's got a short tail.
I'm not even going to lie. I did not realize that was a cat. He pointed it out.
Yeah, he's alive. He's not just...
Okay. Well, speaking of cat, I know this one probably has one like lying around somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
he's like passed out on my desk.
Okay, well, don't bother him.
He'll probably show up at some point.
All right, then. Okay, you can introduce yourself now, Orange Chat. How you doing?
I am Peachy. The world is my oyster.
Peachy, orange. I get it.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm really excited about this show because there's a couple of topics that we're going to go very, very deep into because I got a lot to say about them. We're going to start this one out on a topic that me and Nerdigans actually covered on Saturday. You guys saw it on our channel here on Monday, and it's about this whole failed Recess reboot. So before I get into
That's what I didn't know there was a reboot of it. You asked me if I watched Recess before.
We found a lot of information on this, that this is going back all the way to 2019 that this was being planned.
Oh, I was just trying to remember their names, everyone. TJ, Spinelli, Mikey, Gretchen.
Yeah, one more.
That short. What was his name? I don't remember his name. Yeah, that's his.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So before I get started, who here has actually watched Disney's Recess when it came out? I think it was like 97 when it first came out. It was like 97 to 2001. So we have a few people who are at least familiar with the show up to this point. So here's what happened, because we're not going to be able to go into all the details here, but I will go into enough details so you guys understand what happened. Is that 2 years ago there was a plan for a Disney reboot for Recess, and it was pretty much in development. The original creators were behind the whole thing, and then it got shelved. And we found out, like, actually during the show, that I think what happened was that this was around the same time that Bob Chapek had gotten heat with the Disney employees because he refused to go to war with Ron DeSantis. And a few months after that, Chapek was replaced by Bob Iger. So when Bob Iger came in, a number of projects that were in development got shelved, and we believe this was one of those projects. So this is the reason why we didn't end up getting this, but the reason we ended up not getting it is probably a good thing, because what they ended up doing with this, and say if you're a big fan of Recess, you are probably not very happy with the direction that this series was going to go. So this alleged pitch, and really it's not really an alleged, I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point that this was in fact the real plan for this show, was that they were going to set the show a number of years in the future, but here's how this whole thing was going to plan out. TJ, as you guys see here, the lead kid, he was supposed to be some kind of tech millionaire, but then just turns into a burnout anyway because he is TJ. He's the main character. Spinelli went from being like, an art student teacher to being in a lesbian band to being a cop to being a lawyer. She gets married to who's the black kid's name again? Vince. And Vince went from being like a failed basketball player to becoming.
Oh, they didn't know how basketball worked either. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the individuals here in a second. Gretchen is just basically like STEM girl. She's smart in science, whatnot. Mikey over here, the big kid, not lying, quite literally went to India, got COVID, and died. That is.
I'm sorry.
What?
When we get to it, like especially for Mikey and for Gretchen and even Gus too, to an extent, like the first part of it, you'll be like, yeah, this sounds right, and then you go further, and it's like, no.
Yeah, it's far worse. And then Gus, as you see here, the kid with the glasses, joins the military, becomes trans, and becomes the face of the trans military. So that was the alleged pitch here. So this is, I know Spencer did this article. It went into a lot of detail here, but for the sake of this one, I want to read specifically off of the pitch Bible here that was caught on Reddit. Now, this was originally posted on Twitter. They started getting rid of the links of this thing, I think for two reasons. One is because obviously this was somebody's Bible that they had kept here, so I think they kind of figured out who leaked this out there in the first place, got in a little bit of trouble. And two, because the backlash behind this was so swift, they ended up trying to scrub it off the internet. Didn't exactly work very well, but like I said, the whole idea is that it was going to be set like 20 something years in the future. It was going to be focused on the quote unquote the new kids, even though the older kids were still there in spirit for the most part. And now this is what I wanted to read here, a couple of tidbits, and then we will discuss exactly what this was. They said this was the themes for now and then. So keep in mind, this is the original creators. This isn't like a new team took over and bastardized everything. This is what they thought the original Recess was then, and this is what they were planning on doing with this one that eventually got canceled. The original Recess was a story of 6th grade, 4th graders, all very different, who had banded together to survive the crazy world of elementary school, navigating between big kids, savage kindergartners, mean girls, bullies, authoritarian administration, and sticking together no matter what, fighting the man and finding a rational balance between conformity and individuality, getting through tough times with a little help from your friends. Fine, sounds innocent enough, right? Here was the plan for the new cast. Keep in mind, this is all aimed towards kids, and we'll get to that later in a second here. But in today's world of global warming, Me Too, Black Lives Matter, and LGBTQ plus rights, modern kids are craving heroes who look like them and have the same issues and are willing to tackle what they need, what they want, and the role models to step up for their friends and figure out what is right and wrong and defend the little guy, getting into the good trouble, quote unquote, in the words of John Lewis, to make a world a better place. So that was what the whole plan is for this show.
That's what the original one did. He did that.
John Lewis.
He just out caught that. Yeah, that's exactly it. So this is like the whole plan for this show. Like I said, didn't get off the ground because of Bob Iger. Maybe that's for the best, but everything about the show was just complete intersectional garbage. It was supposed to have a whole bunch of non-binary and gay kids in this whole thing. Like I said, I told you.
Let's be real though. Some of the ideas that we did see in here were actually good. Like they had like the computer kids, which I thought were really interesting. They had like a new version of the Diggers, which I thought were interesting. But then they had the new version of like the Ashleys, which were a mixed group of
of non-binary elementary school kids and
they were doing like TikTok and stuff like that. And I was just like,
but it would have been the absolute worst. And like I said, there's a lot more we can get into here for a second, but I know there's a lot to unpack for some of you. So Beverly, I want to start off with you on this one. With the little information that we've given you so far, and there is a little bit more to get into, what is your thoughts on the failed reboot of Recess? Was this something that you would have been interested in, or are you glad this thing did see the light of day?
Oh, thank goodness that. I think most things shouldn't have like reboots on them. They did just bring back Frasier, which I tried watching the first episode of that because I love the original. But I just think pretty much everything should not be rebooted. I also don't think animated stuff should really be turned into live action in most cases, because if the animation was art, I'm thinking of Avatar right now. I haven't watched either of the live action things, but I just feel like the animation was really great. I don't need to see real people do it. So I don't know. I'm usually not a fan of most reboots.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like this was at the time period that this came out, if you recall, they were also doing the Proud Family remake, and we've covered the Proud Family remake, but it came out about a year ago, and they did the exact same thing with the Proud Family remake they were planning on doing with this. So this was apparently a plan that they were going to do with multiple shows from that early 2000s era, where they were going to reboot them all, but put them in a quote-unquote modern light, which is all intersexual, feminist, and progressivist nonsense. By the way, there was also a plan out there for a Doug reboot too. However, the Doug reboot didn't get nearly as far as this one almost did. Like I said, this one, if it wasn't for the intervention of Bob Iger, this one probably would have gotten greenlit around the same time as the Proud Family remake.
Was Proud Family in the future too, or was that?
Yes. No.
Proud Family was just completely like.
They retold the thing, and they did like a continuality thing where they
that's what Recess would have been. Recess would have been like a continuation kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. And when they've done this a lot, but no, we're not surprised at all. Rob, I know you had an interesting reaction there when you found out that Gus died of COVID. I'm not even making that up. That's literally what happened to him.
Mikey died of COVID.
Mikey died of COVID. He literally became like some famous musician, went to India, got some kind of mysterious illness around the same time COVID was coming out, and they mentioned COVID in the Bible here, and then he died. So that was the fate.
Why would they do that to him?
That people were furious.
Yeah,
about that.
Stupid idea.
I'm totally going through main character syndrome right now. Totally, it's unbelievable.
but it was just like don't get me wrong. I had never had a strong connection with Recess, the show. But it was like an enjoyable, if I remember, Saturday morning cartoon on like ABC or something. But I liked it. I just thought along with like Nickelodeon and things like that, it was just a fun show. So this is part of the pattern that Hollywood and the entertainment industry is going down. They all the reboots, all the remakes, all of this thing that they're doing of like remaking all of these characters into their new world order form is just kind of like blatant and obvious at this point. So I feel bad for fans of the franchise. I feel bad for, the people that wanted to see something that they loved get kind of manipulated and torn to shreds. So I'm glad, obviously, it didn't come to fruition, but this is not an isolated incident with what's going on in the entertainment industry.
Especially with Disney. I mean, let's be very clear here.
I'd say too that when I say reboot, that's usually because they like make all these different changes. If they were to just like bring it back the way it was and continue new episodes, I would totally be on board to just see like more episodes of any type of cartoon or most things. But like because they try to like make it more modern or edgy and stuff too, it usually ends up being bad.
And I mean, not to change the subject or anything, but I haven't heard really anybody here talk about X-Men 97, whether that's a good adaptation, whether it's not. But that was very much something where it's like, okay, they're trying to bring back the nostalgia that I loved. By the way, I loved that show.
That's what
Like
I've been hearing. I've been hearing nothing but good things
Yeah.
about it. Mine is like there's been a couple of misses from what I've heard, but I've heard nothing but good things otherwise. For me, when I saw it, like the animation wise kind of turned me off a little bit. But like something that I've heard is like if they would have used more of like closer maybe a little bit closer like to like a hybrid of like X-Men Evolution meets like X-Men, like classic X-Men animation. I think that would have turned people on a little bit more in terms of like the style. But other than that, people have enjoyed it.
Is that the one where Deadpool is banned from? Did I see something about? I don't know if that was.
I only caught the first like 3-4 episodes of X-Men. It was decent from what I saw. I just haven't finished it, but from people who have seen it, I've heard good things about it. So,
but the thing is, and we'll talk about, I think we'll talk about it in a second, is that from what we saw in like Recess, though, in this reboot, it was fixable. There's things that could be done to fix it. It's not like one of those reboots that were just way too far gone. It's fixable.
yeah, it's only fixable if you literally don't do anything they were planning on doing. That's the only way I think you can fix it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Can we all agree though? Can we all agree that Hey Arnold is now Kino, apparent now from all this, since they had the same story, same plot, and everything? But Hey Arnold stuck to its credibility and stuck to its values and everything else, and gave us a legitimate ending for it and everything. I just wanted to praise Hey Arnold.
I mean, if they could. You know, if they could, they would find some kind of way to reboot it. And then on one of the episodes, like Gerald will get beaten by like a white cop, and it'll be like the whole talk of the town. And we have to talk about these issues.
Grandpa's really a Nazi during World War II.
Wouldn't allow that. Craig Bartlett
Also,
wouldn't allow that.
if they wanted to reboot something that had like that little twinge of like progressivism or wokeism back then or whatever, why don't you just reboot Pepper Ann? Because Pepper Ann was like a really good, like, I mean, there were lesbians in Pepper Ann, there were progressive ideas in Pepper Ann. There was like a lot of really good stuff, and it wasn't like psychotic because Pepper's the one that's going through all the crazy stuff and has to dial it back a bit. So, like,
why don't they just reboot Daria? Isn't Daria like the model for like most modern women these days? Just bring that one back. Didn't they do that already? Or was that the only Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah,
Beavis and Butthead they brought back already. Daria, I thought it was coming. It was in the works. Oh no, they were going to replace Daria with someone else though. That was the problem.
Yeah.
See, CJ, you there?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm here.
Just real quick, what do you think? Because Spencer was asking about you. He was worried that you haven't spoken yet.
I'm here. No. I miss you guys too. That's why I showed up today.
So let me read.
I honestly, so like my take on this is that this isn't for kids. This is for adults. These are, well, they're not even for adults. These are for people your age that haven't grown up or matured and don't really have kids, or they need something for their dogs to watch. This is like the comfort food that my generation who can't grow up will consume, because you can't face anything hard without like some kind of lead in. So all of the people out there who are mature and can handle adult stuff, go for it. Thank you. I'm not talking about you. I'm about people who cannot grow up and do not want to grow up.
So I want to read this here. Then I actually want to get Orange Cage's take on this too. So this is a couple of the character, I guess, ideas. This is how they were going to pitch these characters for the reboot. So everyone knows the character of Spinelli, who was kind of like, the tough tomboy girl of the show. And of course, in the modern translation, any person who was a tomboy in the 90s had to grow up to become a lesbian, because that's just the way that things work, right? Like you can't just, go out of your tomboy phase and be like a normal girl like these days. Like, no, we have to make you gay. And this is how they were going to
inform Cassie?
Sure, right. Here's how they were going to set up the character of Spinelli, right? So Into the future, known for her tough and rebellious kids, Spinelli had a talent for drawing, which is why after graduating high school, she got a scholarship to an art institute. But the art school wasn't a good fit. Spinelli chafed at less talented teachers telling her what to do and cringed at a lot of the self-promotional art gallery scene. By the way, just real quick, who knows about the self-promotional art gallery scene? Even know that reference? That's very specific to the people who are writing this crap. But she did, however, meet a bunch of cool lesbians who were forming a neo-punk band called Neary Girls. So Spinelli quit art school and became the leader of this lesbian band, which somehow found her way on the stage of Coachella one night, screaming her lungs out to a giant crowd of sweaty youth. By the way, there are no neo-punk bands at Coachella. Like, it's all like mainstream pop and like hip-hop. Like, what are you guys doing? Like they said, obviously these people have no idea what the real world works.
No.
Then she meets TJ, and then Nerdigans have brought this up too. Like, Spinelli and TJ were like always like rumored to like be a thing, and that's kind of what the fans wanted. So of course, in the God, I just remembered they actually did use the term "subvert your expectation" in this pitch Bible, which is even worse.
Oh yeah, they did.
They literally used that in the pitch
They
Bible.
used it at the end of the pitch. That's how they concluded the pitch. Was for the pilot was subvert your expectations.
Whenever you hear that phrase, it really is a knee in the teeth.
If there is a triggering phrase out there, it's subverting your expectations. But so here says that, and she noticed that TJ was in the audience, smiling, proud her up. TJ was on his own journey of self-discovery, and the two hung out on tour for a couple of weeks, which means they banged until TJ got too serious, and she was on her own journey of self-discovery, and she wasn't ready for a relationship. And Spinelli wasn't into guys at that point, so she let TJ down easy, but he didn't take it well, riding off in anger on his Harley. But then
give me an incel.
Yep.
Give me an incel.
But like any
Sounds like the band.
Any Reese's fan will tell you that it was a one-sided thing for the most part. Well, it wasn't one-sided after the Kiss episode, but Spinelli always was pining over TJ. Everyone knew it.
Yep.
So it's like, this makes no sense.
Well, it makes sense if you're trying to subvert expectations, or subvert.
It makes
people's
sense if you're
childhood.
on Tumblr.
Yeah, right. It gets worse. So after being a lesbian fan, she decided to fight the good fight and make the world a better place. So she dropped out of her band and applied to the police academy. While there, she ran into Vince, who's the black kid.
She's a narc?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Spinelli's a narc.
You would never do that either.
Oh, it gets worse. So then she ran back from Vince, who was back from playing pro basketball in Italy. By the way, they thought that there's divisions in college basketball. So it was like, oh yeah, he won his division, and when he was in college, like there is no divisions in college, you morons. But they clearly have no idea what they're talking about. Vince wondered if maybe Spinelli was selling herself short, and she wondered that maybe he was right. Even before finishing the academy, she applied to law school and got in. And while in law school, she fell in love with Vince, and they got pregnant, got married, and got Ruby, who is the actual star of this show, which is the daughter of Spinelli and Vince, and loved their lives. And now Spinelli has even a more important reason to fight to make the world a better place. The reason that wakes up every morning and wants her breakfast. So that's how they were going to set up the character of Spinelli here. A
She
woman
got
who
back
went from-
into guys, but not TJ.
Yeah, well, she wasn't into guys when it was TJ, but then she hit Vince. All of a sudden, she was back into guys again. So, she
It's
didn't want
like,
to-
the funny thing
Not
is that
right.
I said this to Jacob. It's like, dude, you think they would want diversity, especially like, mixed kids, because Spinelli is Hispanic and TJ's white, and no.
But I mentioned this during the show. It's like that's not the type of interracial that they want. It's like they don't want like white guy, like Hispanic girl. They want like white girl, black guy. That's the one that they want, because that's how you subvert expectations of the public here with this whole thing. And then the other one that I wanted to read because of how nauseating this was the one for Gus. Was small but brave. Gus Griswold life journey was the most surprising out of them all. Although it didn't start out that way. After college, Gus followed in his father's footsteps and joining the army, and quickly moved up the ranks, promoted for his brains, loyalty, and courage. By the time Gus was 25, he had become the youngest lieutenant colonel in the modern army, but he knew something wasn't right.
But like up to there, hold on, Jacob. Up to there, that sounds like Gus, right?
And we'll talk about where they should have pivoted here, but I'll get to that here in a second. But this is what they actually decided to do. It says that
to the plot of Platoon.
Jesus. But Big Gus had to become her true self, Lieutenant Nikki Griswold. Yes, Gus became trans. And at first, there was a lot of movement to drum Nikki out of the army. But then when Time and Newsweek both put in their covers, Lieutenant Nikki Griswold became the new face of the army. But the challenges weren't over. First, Nikki had to face her own truth, and the army had to come around. But once Nikki had to face her family and friends, that might be the biggest battle of this soldier has to fight yet, because apparently he didn't find any action on the battlefield, but being trans is the toughest battle of them all. So yeah, so this was the idea. So if there's one thing Bob Iger got right, it was killing the show dead in its tracks. But
just remember what Gus's character was. Gus wanted his father's approval. And his father's a military man. He wanted his father's approval. So like up until like something wasn't right, that fit Gus to a T. And that was the same thing with Mikey. Like Mikey had his opera career going, and that was fine. It worked. But then you had that subverting your expectations come through.
Yeah, if anyone was going to be gay, wouldn't it be Mikey?
Yeah. If anyone was going to be gay, it'd be Mikey.
Yeah, no, Mikey was too busy getting COVID and dying, or monkey. Maybe who knows? Could have been that too. But
yes,
no,
India is a very dirty place. Let's
Yeah,
go there, guys.
it's kind of racist to say he went to
Did he
India
actually
and
say COVID?
died.
Maybe it was AIDS.
But it's like, so, and we mentioned this too on the show. Like, if you wanted to take a route with Gus, like trying to adjust to life outside the army, it's like the story's been told 1,000 times. You can easily tell a story of someone who finds themselves in the army, knows how to be an army man, knows how to be in the service, but then when he transitions into civilian life, he has no idea like what to do with himself. And it's a story that's actually true to life. It would actually make far more sense for the character, but no, it doesn't check off the box for the LGBTQ. So now, Gus's dad, who was already disappointed in his son, is probably going to suck off the end of a shotgun.
He puts on a dress. He puts on a dress and goes to the U.S. Army and says, "Listen to me, military. You got to do what I say." And the U.S. military is like, "Yes, Nikki,
yes, Queen."
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of entertaining people, we basically made him Bradley Manning. Orange Chat, I want to get your take on this real quick because I know you've been sitting here for a second. So, what is your take on this whole Disney Recess debacle?
Never got into the original show, so I don't know much about it, but I fell asleep because of how boring and disgusting it sounded. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. It sucks. I have no interest. It's Disney. It's pedophilic.
And if you read like the full Bible, I actually might just go ahead and just give you guys a link in the chat so you guys can read it yourself, like the full thing. Like I said, they intended for this to be completely 100% aimed at kids. I don't know if kids were actually planning on watching this or not, but that was their plan, at least in their head. And
Well,
then
you should show them the new kids though, because they don't have a fat kid anymore for the new generation. No, it's kind of
not after the other one died of COVID.
So which one did that bucktooth
Exactly.
lady turn into? Is she the screeching lesbian that you guys were talking about?
No, Gretchen is actually a supermodel now. She's a scientist.
She is a bucktooth supermodel.
No, Rob, I'm not even lying here. Sorry, I need to bring this up just real quick for Rob to prove that I'm not lying here. When they described Gretchen in here, there's literally a line on this line that says, "Think Jessica Chastain in The Martian." That was their idea of how they were going to present Gretchen in this first show.
Okay. You know, I just want to point this out, and I don't know why I know this, but Miley Cyrus had recently taken some pictures, and I'm like, is she morphing into a horse? Because I don't know what's happening with the lines around her face. But anyway, that's kind of what comes to mind. It's just like
mirror is what got her there.
What are we doing here?
Pinocchio syndrome.
Oh, you're right. She is kind of looking horse-like.
Yeah.
Why is everyone turning into Sarah Jessica Parker all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Sure, Jessica Parker. That woman looks like more like freaking Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Her face looks like a foot, to quote Family Guy.
They went to
Then again, she'd probably vote for her too.
But no, that's what happens when you have the same diet of like
cheekbones,
cigarettes, booze, and cocaine. It's like, yeah, that will do it. That will age you very, very quickly.
Yeah, that song "Flowers" of Miley Cyrus. I hate it, but it makes her sound like, I don't know, like a 40-some-year-old smoker. Black.
Oh yeah, she sounds like she's been smoking for like 40 years.
Yeah.
Smoking like 6 packs a day since the age of 12. Neil Zoic has a quick question here. It says, what did you say that the canceled reboot based on its premise is worse than the Proud Family reboot? Here's the thing. I would say the Proud Family reboot only because that one actually got realized, but this is only the pitch for a reset. So God knows if this actually got greenlit and they went forward with it, it could have possibly have been worse than the Proud Family remake. But since the Proud Family actually did get the green light, I still have to say that one's worse.
The one I'm curious about, though, that was one of the ones we saw was Darkwing Duck. I don't even know if that one's still getting made or not, and if it's if the people that are working on it are the same ones as the DuckTales reboot. Because if it is, then the Darkwing Duck one might actually be good.
Dude, Darkwing Duck is awesome. The reboot, like the people who took care of DuckTales really took it. The people who took care of DuckTales and all that really took a really good job with it.
That's why I'm like, I want to know what's going down with the Darkwing Duck reboot, because if it's the same people, then that one will be good.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Shut up. I don't know, man. Like I just can't trust anything of that modern Disney touches. It's like I think maybe we got a somewhat decent one with X-Men 97, but it's like by and large, it's like there's something in the water like, over there. Like I said, keep this in mind too. There was plans for a Doug reboot. Now, people who are actual fans of Doug know that everyone loves the Nickelodeon Doug. Everyone hates the Disney Doug. Can you imagine what the Disney Plus Doug would have looked like?
Oh God, it would have been terrible.
That Doug would have forever stayed a virgin.
Pining over Patty mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, because they have to subvert your expectations. So of course Skeeter would have ended up with Patty, and then like Doug would have been like the miserable, like lonely incel who was like
the Nickelodeon one gave Patty her mayonnaise.
Patty would have been non-binary.
Well, just real quick. First, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Who's the target audience for this show? It's not kids. Kids are not as obsessed with being, transgendered military and getting all these lesbian punk bands. Really, who's going to watch this show? Secondly, why kill Mikey? I mean, he was the sweetest character of the show. It just seems cruel. And third, I thought that when I first heard Flowers, the song, I thought it was Bruno Mars who was singing it. I did not know it was a woman. I did not legitimately know. Someone told me it's Miley Cyrus. I'm going, really? I thought that was a man. I literally thought it was a man.
I thought that was Billy Porter.
I still haven't gotten over my hate of Bruno Mars because of how much they promoted his Super Bowl halftime show, which I didn't see. And I was like, I will forever hate that man. And it's not even his fault. It's the promotional bullshit. So
I don't remember it. But really, this show, there's no point. It's, again, taking a property that is beloved and just adapting it to fit the writer's idea of what the world should be like. Not really the world, even in the Recess world. I think all of us have known people like all these other characters. It's not anything like what we grew up with or what we know. Really, they're just using this to promote a particular worldview. There's no point to it. There's no point. It's not going to be loved. It's just kind of spoiling on. You know what it is? It's like those people who are throwing tomato juice and paint on masterpieces, like on the Mona Lisa and things like that. That's basically what they're doing. They're just throwing this garbage and saying, "Oh, it's to draw attention to trans, because there are millions of trans children right now." No, they're not. They're probably kids who don't even care, honestly, and who are not going to transition. But why pick on Gus? He was just so. I like Gus. I just don't know why they're going to make him into a woman.
Yeah, if anyone was going to trans, I feel like maybe Gretchen would have been the one to go.
But she's a supermodel.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have gone if I had to choose someone to trans, probably her.
Why can't they
But that's
just
the whole,
say
like,
how the fuck they were originally?
But that's the whole like subverting expectations thing. It's like you take the guy who's on the like super masculine track army guy, oh, and you're gonna turn him into a woman, and then it's like, oh, and the kind of ugly girl is a supermodel, because that's, you know, we're just projecting our delusional fantasies here
They use
that are
subverting
not anywhere.
expectations for bad writing.
Right. No, exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. To me, like growing up in the 90s, subverting expectations was like, oh, hey, yeah, like there's this traditional conservative culture that, you know, the majority of Americans follow, and here's this sort of commentary that's at least offering a different perspective. Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. And like slowly over the last 20 years, it's just been like, oh, we're subverting expectations just means the most obvious, you know, pandering, projected, you know, crap that we can think of. And
why
here
do
we
you
are.
even need to? Why do you even need to subvert expectations? It's not what audiences want. I mean, audiences,
You're not even good at meeting expectations, let alone subverting them.
Yeah.
Well said.
I mean, so here's another thing too, just real quick before we move on to our next topic. It's like Maurice brought up a great point that a lot of these writers are like, it's like watching Degrassi: The Next Generation.
Oh,
And here's the thing with Degrassi: The Next Generation. It's like you watch the show when you were a teenager, and then you grow up and you realize the show was shit. You don't grow up and make it like your entire like personality trait for like the next 15 years of your life. And I feel like we made it like a wrong detour there. So for that time frame, because every show like Euphoria, which I basically say it's just Degrassi with dicks. And then there was another really, really terrible show that's super popular now that's basically the same thing. And yeah, I think that Canadian show may have done more damage to this country than we possibly could have realized. So
everybody wants something, they'll never give up. That's all I know about Degrassi. Everybody,
Would you please shut
like
the hell up?
It changed mid-sentence.
That's all I know.
But the thing is with Recess, and you know, we were watching like on Saturday, we watched the opening and an episode of it. It's just so timeless and it's so simple, and anyone can relate to it. Even now, you don't even need to be like have it all modernized. You could still relate to it.
yeah, but like I said, these people are literally trying to use these shows to like brainwash the youth. So this is why the motivation is the way that it is right now.
Well, there's another reason for it too, and it's just money. I mean, like a lot of our generation has access to all the shows that like we what?
I said they're not making it. That's the problem.
No, well, I mean, like we have access to all the shows that we grew up with. Like, I mean, before you had to catch it on Nick at Night or something, you know. And now we have access to all the old shows. So personally, I bought the entire series pack of Hey Arnold for my kids. They love it. And the movie does cap it off very nicely. Yeah. So what do they do then? They're like, oh, this person just bought like $70 worth of Hey Arnold TV shows. Oh, how do we get more money out of them? Oh, we'll reboot the series and we'll continue it. And it's like, no. We don't do it like that at my house. So you have to actually make good stuff. But a lot of lazy people and a lot of lazy parents will just turn on the show and let them watch what. I mean, like I also let the kids watch The Last Airbender, and it's like I don't like Korra, so it's like, yeah, this doesn't exist, and we're not watching it. It's terrible. And
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, maybe on like a separate episode of like Retro Wave, me, Nerdigans, and a few of you guys can talk about Degrassi and everything. But I completely wholeheartedly reject this idea.
I did not watch Degrassi. I rejected the Degrassi agenda. I did not watch it.
Well, we definitely need to get trapped back to that episode.
Degrassi was depressing. I mean, it was just one misery after another. Nobody was happy. They were like,
okay,
rapes
Rick,
and
you're
killing.
talking about the era where people were watching the OC and One Tree Hill. So again, it's just like
I actually like the OC.
Well, I kind of was. No, it's weird. I caught Degrassi like a few episodes and I got like hooked watching it, but I was like 18, so please forgive me. But what is this the thing with Drake when he's in the wheelchair?
Yeah, Degrassi is Drake.
And then somehow he went from being a Canadian teen television show star to the biggest rapper in hip hop, and no one can make any guess of how that happened.
Well, it was the same thing with Ariana Grande. She went from Nick star to like super, yes, one of the biggest pop stars. right now.
I had no idea who she was till she licked that donut at the baseball game, and I was like, "Who is this bitch?"
Yeah, I knew who she
Her donut
was.
commentary was what inspired Fat Girl.
Ariana Grande looks like a pair of pants you left in a dryer too long. Let's be very, very honest.
Yeah, I never understood her appeal, but yeah.
I did like the OC.
Talking about people who have stayed along a little too long, let's talk about Eminem here for a second, because apparently Eminem came back with a music video this week. He's releasing his 12th album, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I only can think of like 3, maybe 4 Eminem albums off the top of my head. So the fact this is his 12th, it's like it feels like I've been lost in the loop. But he did a song called Houdini, released a music video for it. And there's one line in this particular song that upset the Megan Thee Stallion fans out there to the point where you had a bunch of Zoomers online trying to cancel Eminem based on what he said about Megan Thee Stallion. And
It's so funny. Like, you would think he would can't be canceled, because that's the whole goal of the song, is to try and get him canceled. It's not any of the other stuff about like saying that his cat identifies as black but acts Chinese. It's not like going after cross dressers. Like, I'm dead serious. He says that, he like does, and he straight up says, "Cancel me. I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want. I don't care." But like the thing that's great about his music video, if you grew up during in the late 90s, early 2000s, and he does make fun of us too for like practically worshiping Eminem. He references in his video Without Me, The Real Slim Shady, and I think he references another one too, another music video up in there. But like in the video, like near the end of the video, he fuses his old self, his Slim Shady persona with his current persona, and it even says that they fused and they created a monster. It's so good. I love it.
Shane Gillis is in the music video too.
Yeah, I'm so obsessed with that video. It's just, and the song just, it's good.
You want to do this story?
Best songs in years.
You want to do this story? Because I was going to read it, then you just start talking. Like, do you want to take this?
I'm the tribal chief around here. Yeah, you see me, the tribal chief. That's right.
You can read the story. I just had to like gush about the music video because it's just so good.
Well, which is hilarious because Spencer's actually burying it in the chat too, so you guys can argue about that one on your own time. But man, so Eminem is 51 years old now. And look, I know like a few years ago we kind of laughed about the reality of 50-year-old rappers, but I mean it's here now. You have him, you have Snoop, you have Dre. Like most of those guys, like damn near 60 now, and like they're doing like gangster rap. I just think to myself, at what point do you just like call it a lid? It's like, did we just say that because Metallica's in their 60s that you know we can still
if Nancy Pelosi and Biden can stay in government for the rest of their lives, I think rappers can continue to do their thing too.
I mean,
But nobody wants them in government either.
But Biden has.
Look at that other
wisdom.
fucking one that died of old age in the Senate. What was her fucking name?
Who cares?
What's her face?
Shit, she was turning into dust while she was
yeah.
sitting in the Senate session.
Chuck
Yeah,
Grassley.
Einstein died like 10 years ago. Her body.
Yeah, she was gone. She was mentally gone for at least 5 years.
They were just shooting her up with electricity just to keep her going, man.
Dude, he don't care about being an ally no more. Eminem, based on that video, he do not care about being an ally no more. Or
Really?
TDS.
Okay, because I thought remember hearing that Eminem was pretty big in TDS, wasn't he?
Yeah,
so
but he don't
he
care
kind
about
of
that
like
shit no more. He's trying to get his
good.
ass canceled. And the line that you'll see it in a second, Jacob will say it.
So
It's so stupid.
So this is the line about Megan Thee Stallion that got Black Twitter completely unraveled here. It was this one line that says all complete throwaway. It says,
I'm sorry,
if
she
I were to
pronounces
ask
it the Stallion, and even though it's
E or
is that how it's
the
pronounced?
Stallion. Not
it
the-
B?
It's Megan Thee Stallion.
Which still doesn't make
She's
sense.
a horse.
Yeah,
She's
a
fucking
male
whore is what
horse.
she is. She's a fucking twerk
Right.
whore.
It's like what?
So Eminem said that if I were to ask for Megan Thee Stallion, would she collab with me? Would I really have a shot at defeat? That's literally all that he said. But the lyric was a reference to the fact that, you know, her boyfriend, Tory Lanez, at the time shot her, was it like through a door or something like that, or shot her in the foot?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
2024.
really?
And then there was this whole, like, you know, trial that
I thought
went
it
on.
was a foot fetish thing.
Yeah, I think he got convicted and whatnot. And like I said, if you're really, really into Megan Thee Stallion, like that was like big news on like Twitter for a while, where everybody else was locked in their house during COVID, like caring about real problems. But of course, this got the anger of a whole lot of people. So this is basically just like a bunch of things here. It says, so Eminem terms Slim Shady jumps into Tory Lane and Megan Thee Stallion drama. That's a no for me. Somebody on Twitter wrote. Here's another person from Twitter saying that, oh, this worked in the 2000s with your counterparts, but a play on words with someone's trauma or a black woman at that. I can't support that. As old as you are, you should know better.
As old as you are.
Do these people even listen to anything that he's done in those albums? This is all shtick. He has always gone after people. He's
it gets worse. So this one says, F that guy. Men love to bring up traumatic events in a woman's life for attention. Leave Megan alone. Quite literally what he said. I didn't even make a word of that.
He's the same guy that screamed, "Leave Britney alone."
Yo.
Oh yeah.
Like, didn't he say worse about like Mariah Carey and Britney Spears? Like,
and his ex-wife and you know, all those things.
Eminem literally wrote a diss track about his own mother.
Yeah, like
Kim Basinger. Yeah,
like, Zoomers are so freaking soft, man. I swear.
In Megan Thee Stallion's defense, if you shoot a horse in the foot, it usually leads to the glue factory.
I'm surprised any of these people know who Eminem is. I imagine that they would have the same reaction that Billie Eilish did when he performed at the Oscars, one of total confusion as to who this old man who was hopping around performing like 15, 20 years after he won Best Original Song. So she had no idea who he was.
Well, that's why they're getting mad, because they have no idea who. You're like, who is this old guy who's making fun of?
You know, generation's Ella Fitzgerald? I don't know.
Here's some other butthurt from here. It says, what exactly did this girl do to deserve this type of harassment by male rappers constantly? I mean, generally, what did she do? And then somebody added, someone tell this guy it's 2024. Another Twitter person said
getting shot in the foot.
Yeah, right. Eminem is too old to be name dropping for shock value. It was cool and edgy in 2001, but dude, you're 50.
But now we're too sensitive. We can't hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody else said everyone's new on the Slim Shady thing or something. And so other people said Slim Shady is truly back. And it's like, oh my god, that's what he looks like now. And
hey,
yeah, so,
I was digging how I'm liking the dark hair and the beard.
So I can answer that.
Oh, wait, so who's the bigger TDS, Eminem or De Niro?
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Dude thinks Trump's going to destroy the planet. He thinks he's going to go Galactus.
Oh.
Well, he is going to terminate the Constitution and become a dictator. I've been assured by the true Black conservative on Twitter. That's what he's going to do.
But I do want to mention this because I thought this whole thing was funny. So the Megan Thee Stallion fans are saying that Eminem is using Megan for clout when Megan is like ranked like 213 on Spotify and Eminem's like ranked like 60 or something on Spotify. It's like, if anything, she should be thanking his ass because she is getting hella clout from him.
Well, in fairness, Eminem has yet to appear on She-Hulk or any TV show. So,
I'll say this: Eminem is still alive.
He was in Rings of Power as that weird elf thingy.
25 years in the industry, he's still alive. And you can't really say that about a lot of his peers. So, there's very few people that have that kind of clout. So,
well, it's because he has that
I think they're helping each other out, honestly. But yeah, it's all.
Well, to be fair, he didn't have a beef with Puffy. That probably helped out a lot too. So.
Right, there you go.
Did he target like Suge Knight as well, or Tupac, Biggie?
There is a story out there. It's been out there for a while that apparently Suge Knight did try to go after Eminem at one point, but then I guess Eminem did a song with Be Real and like one of the like Samoan Bloods out here in the Bay Area, and they kind of protected him, quote unquote, from a lot of stuff that was going on in LA. So yeah, don't fuck with those Samoans, man. I keep telling you, but no, people don't listen.
No.
I met a real Samoan. What a
Unless you
fucking
watch
mountain of a
Next
man.
Goal Wins, which is terrible, by the way.
Yeah, dude,
There's
don't
a
fuck.
reason they make great football players, wrestlers, and bodyguards.
Dude, they're all 350 pounds and they all know how to fight. Like, it's not...
Which
He's
is
50
why they're
pounds
not good
heavier
soccer
than me,
players.
but yet the man looks like he's fucking 200 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, this whole thing with Eminem, it's like, look, I'll admit at some point 20 years ago, I was a fan of Eminem, but then, I became an adult and I just walked away from Eminem after a while. and look, when it comes to him, for people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Like, this has been his gimmick for 30 years. Like, shock value and going after this is what he's always done. So you can't sit here and be like, oh my God, how? First of all, who the fuck is Megan Thee Stallion to be like, we can't say anything about her whatsoever? And I know this is going to talk into a conversation we're going to have in our closer here, but what is it with this entitlement that a vast majority of Black women have that think that their celebrities or their quote unquote idols just cannot be touched or criticized in any way, shape, or like? Who the hell are you?
Because they've been oppressed as women, they've been oppressed as Black people. So obviously they cannot, because they it would be sexist and racist to criticize anyone who is a
What a mark.
Which explains why Kamala Harris has to be president.
She's not Black though.
Yes, she's
a cop.
Black.
She's Black when it's convenient.
She ain't fucking Black. The way that
I had a very
see it,
similar
these bitches
tweet.
don't have. Okay, who's talking?
I'm talking anyway. So I had a similar tweet about this where it was like Afro egocentrism is always astonishing to me. Whereas the whole like we was Kangs thing, where it's like you're gonna believe a delusional narrative because you need to elevate your ego and you have no self-respect, and it's all this laundry list of like seriously mental illness problems. I mean, all kinds of things that are just like, okay, you obviously do not live in reality. You are obviously disconnected from what you believe you deserve versus what you actually have earned.
Now
don't forget crack.
We had the Woman King, which told the true story of how
totally
African women fought slavery. What else did we have? We had Wakanda Forever, where Angela Bassett, because of racism, was robbed of her legitimate Oscar for an Oscar clip.
How about Till?
Well, Till, yes, that was the greatest performance in the history of all mankind. How
about the magical Negro?
Daniel Deadwyler gave the greatest screen performance ever recorded in the history of all cinema, and she was robbed because of racism. I mean, come on.
How about the magical Negroes?
I'll let Jacob ask one.
No, it's not. I mean, Justice Smith might as well be a fucking woman at this point. So,
That entitlement question you asked, though, I have the perfect response. Unless you have fucking diplomatic immunity, you ain't safe from shit, bitch.
Yeah, so this is the whole thing. Bunch of Zoomers being stupid on the internet over this whole thing. So if anyone has any final thoughts on this before we hop over to a more personal story.
No, I still don't know what songs that she's performed. I don't think I've actually heard her. I don't think I've heard any of her songs.
You've heard her
no
music.
idea what
It goes like this. Oh, horse is a horse, of course. Nobody's over a horse, of course.
I'm pretty sure she did that fucking stupid ass song that Ben Shapiro covered, and then everybody made fun of Ben Shapiro.
No. That what WAP,
what
Megan and it was Megan and Cardi B.
Cardi B. I'm sorry that I know this, by the way. I don't listen to fucking popular music at all, but I absorb enough popular culture where it just seeps in, and I hate it.
The first time I heard that song was in Joyride when they did that cover.
That was the worst movie of last year. I'm sorry. Joyride was such a piece of garbage.
Yes.
And by the way, I have also, and I know we're going to get to Argylle here, but I've also said it's the worst movie of the year. Rick's not alone. Rick just repeats himself over and over and over again, like the fucking political talking points. Sorry.
Yep.
Amen. Ain't gonna lie.
Political waterboarding.
And then he wonders why this stuff is happening and all this other stuff. And he's not repeating everything.
Yeah.
Hey, I speak the truth.
Well, Matthew Vaughn took a direct shot at our boy here, Rick Aragon, who for months has gone on and on about how Argylle is the worst movie of the entire year. So Matthew Vaughn had to come out and defend his movie, which has gotten so much crap over the last several months. And here's what he said here: critics were vitriolic over Argylle, and bad reviews took me by surprise. He's like, we didn't make Citizen Kane, but fucking hell, what he said here. So he even used one of Rick's old lines here talking about this film. Argylle, for you guys didn't know, is I say he literally wrote this about him. Argylle was a couple months back. Who was in it again? Bryce Dallas Howard. They made her look so bad.
Henry Cavill, who can't act.
John Cena had a glorified cameo.
Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell was in it too. This was a $200 million production budget movie, and it only didn't even make $100 million at the box office, according to these numbers here. So yeah, this was a certified effing flop. So Vaughn responded when asked about the extremely negative reviews toward Argylle, which currently has a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes after nearly 300 reviews. He said this. He says, "We had done test screenings that had gone fantastically well." He said the premiere was a very fine night, and then he says that it was like going back to the Snatch days, where there was such excitement. I started drinking the Kool-Aid. It was a fun, feel-good movie, and I thought it was fun and feel-good movie, but we didn't make Citizen Kane, but fucking hell. The reviews came out, and I was like, wait, what have I done to offend these people? They were vitriolic. I'm not saying the movie's perfect by any means, but I didn't think that it was offensive. That took me by surprise. It says, I even went around to cinemas because I thought maybe I've lost the plot. It did rattle me. He continued, I was genuinely scratching in my head about that because you can't ignore it. It wasn't just like a few bad reviews. Clearly, it was a lot. So
it was all Rick's.
I have the power.
Single-handedly, by the way.
I have the power.
Vaughn, who has done many of the Kingsman movies, I think like some of the X-Men, the older X-Men movies he wrote there, like Days of Future Past, stuff like that. So he's been involved in a lot of movies that were successful. This, however, was not one of them. The movie is now streaming on Apple TV to make its money back. That's how bad it is. It says, we're doing very well on streaming. Yeah, I'm sure you are. People are liking it. Nothing would make me happier than making another one. I'm getting texts saying that, wow, those reviews were fucking harsh. The more that people can get a chance to watch Argylle, the more chance we'll make another one. I love to make another one. We've got it planned. And Apple has not made any official announcements about doing any more Argylle movies after it got ravished by critics, including us people here on this very show that said that it was absolute dog water doo-doo awful. Now, I won't tell you where exactly Argylle is on my top 5 worst movies so far, because that comes on Friday night. But let me go ahead to Rick here, because let's be very honest. This article, he's talking directly to you. Like, you've been the one beating this drum now for months. So what do you have to say for yourself now that Matthew Vaughn has directly called you out by name for shitting on his movie?
I will proclaim myself the Citizen Kane of film reviewers. Obviously, I am, little old me, 5'7", 158-pound man, have now the power to destroy this franchise. What do I say? Argylle is the worst film I've seen. I don't know. I might actually watch Argylle over Joyride, but that's still questionable. And it's true. I always say, no matter how bad a movie is, it's still better than Argylle. And I'll tell you why I have such vitriol, quote unquote, for this particular film. It's not just that it's bad. It has a nonsensical plot, bad acting, though Sam Rockwell did try desperately to make this into something watchable. What really gets to me is the fact that it's supposed to be the first in a long series of films. They wanted to make this into a franchise. They wanted to tie this into the Kingsman universe. Look, concentrate on making a good movie instead of concentrating on trying to build an entire franchise with a character that is stupid, with a plot that is idiotic and makes no sense. Why? Look, I was thinking about this when he was talking about, we didn't make Citizen Kane. Orson Welles and all the other directors in the past, and maybe currently, they always aim to make a good film. That's how Orson Welles got to make Citizen Kane. He got complete creative control, and He actually plotted this out with Ben Mankiewicz's grandfather. So he created this whole thing. He had years of experience in the theater. He knew what he was doing for the most part because this was his first film. Every director should aim to make a good film. Maybe not aim to make Citizen Kane, but aim to make something that makes sense. The three of us, Rob, Jacob, and I, we all liked Boy Kills World. Why? Because it knew what it was. It knew its audience. It didn't pretend to be anything other than what it was, which was a fun action killing spree comedy. I enjoyed it, and I really enjoy those types of films. What really what really angers me about Argylle, and I'll say this to you, Mr. Vaughn, is you really thought that this would be the beginning of a franchise. You plotted it out that way without even thinking, hey, why don't I introduce the audience to these characters instead of declaring, oh, this is going to be the first part of a long series that you are going to love. Have us love the film instead of just declaring this is going to be a franchise. I hate films. I hate series. Think you're going to make a franchise out of something before you even introduce the first film. All right? Get that right.
Now, to be fair, though, hold on just a second. To be fair, it's not like he's the only one in Hollywood that does this. Hollywood is so arrogant and up its own ass. Every single movie they come up with, they think that, oh, this is going to be such a hit that we'll turn this into 6 or 7 movies over the next 10 to 15 years. And then it usually fails right out of the gate. So this is kind of like the industry standard now.
We had that thing with Furiosa. They really thought that this was going to be the beginning of another franchise, and
go back to the Mummy from a few years ago. Remember when Tom Cruise?
Yeah, the Dark Universe.
The Dark
there was going to be
Universe.
a whole universe of movies, and they failed because the Mummy did.
Yeah, and let me go back. I mean, if you go back to the very first Mummy with the Universal, they weren't, as far as I know, really plotting to make it an entangle, to make it a complete cinematic universe. Frankenstein was its own thing, and it had sequels. Dracula was its own thing, and they really didn't think of a sequel until it became successful. That's why they got Dracula's Daughter, and then they started making other films, and they were not doing very well. I mean, artistically. Same with the Mummy, and the Invisible Man, and the Wolfman. They weren't deliberately plotted. They were just individual films that eventually started tying into themselves. And then we ended up with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which, to be fair, I've never seen, but I don't like Abbott and Costello, except for Who's on First. Point being,
genius movie.
Well, the Who's on First is really
But they were all done by Universal. They were all done by the same studio. Some of them were made by the same director. And so it's that it's that vision, it's that tagline. It's a Universal picture in those 1930s credits. Like that is craftsmanship. That is studio craftsmanship. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal.
No. That's a perfectly valid statement. With Argylle, it's lazy, it's dumb, it's insulting to the audience. I don't know what audience you know what? The same audience that he went to see the previews were. I bet it's the same audience that Billy Eichner went to see Bros with, that were laughing uproariously and thought it was hilarious, and they were crying and cheering at the end. It's probably that same audience. Or maybe it's made up of the audience that's completely made up of people like his generation's Roger Ebert, who really love everything that's thrown at him. This is a terrible movie. Instead of him saying, well, you know what? I aimed for something. I tried to have like an action comedy, and I thought that I could develop more stories with it, but it didn't quite work. I should study what happened and maybe just correct it. No, he's doubling down and saying, no, it's the audience that's wrong. It's the critics that are wrong. There's no humility in this person. And I'm sorry, I was not a fan of, I think the first Kingsman was fine. I hated the second one, and I never saw any of the others. So
there are more?
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately there are.
There's like two, and then there's a prequel. And now they're going to try to tie the Kingsman into Argylle. Look, enough. You don't need to tie in everything. Make a movie stand on its own. You should aim to make a Citizen Kane. People who were making Casablanca, they were aiming to make a great film, but they were not thinking that this was going to be one of the greatest films ever made. because it was a studio film. It was a little chaotic. Same with It's a Wonderful Life. Capra was a great director. Stewart's a great actor. They're not saying, "Oh, we're make one of the greatest films ever made." They just wanted to make a good film. That's what Vaughn did not do. He thought,
I'm
I'm just going to ride on this popular thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The worst sin of this Argylle movie, and Spencer brought it up here, is how terrible they made Bryce Dallas Howard look. And I've said this many times before. I don't think she's not a bad looking woman at all. They turned her into Julian Bell for this movie. If you don't know who Julian Bell is, go Google her. It was bad. Like that whole third act.
Well, I think a couple of people were wondering how the worst thing Sam Rockwell could lift her, because she seemed rather too much for him. And
the worst thing is that they trafficked in every bad current idea. She's a girl boss. She's an amazing writer. Oh, she's basically fucking James Bond. And Sam Rockwell's lifting her fat ass in a fucking ballet scene. And then the skate. That's not even getting to the ice skates. The fucking ice skate scene. So listen, this movie is the worst movie that I've seen. I will also compare it to two other directors that like to put out shit pretty consistently, Guy Ritchie and David Leitch, who did what was it, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which was terrible, not as bad as Argylle, but it was close. And then David Leitch did The Fall Guy, which I have not seen, but just looked like a dumpster fire piece of shit.
Yeah,
so they're all very similar movies. They're all trying to make the audience be entertained and laugh and have a good time, and they're completely all dead on arrival. So as much as I would love to shit on Argylle, this is not a Matthew Vaughn only problem. This is a problem industry-wide in Hollywood right now. They thought these movies would at least buoy the box office a little bit. They have absolutely sent it crashing down. Furiosa too, by the way.
Why do you guys say that Bryce Dallas Howard was made to look bad in this movie and not that she just looks worse today?
No, trust me. If you see the movie, especially in that third act, it's almost like they went out of her way to make her as unattractive and unappealing as they possibly can.
To be fair, our first movie review was the third Jurassic World movie.
Yeah.
Where she's like running around away from dinosaurs, whatever. And fast forward to the Argylle review, which was earlier this year, and it's like either her character is supposed to be.
Too? I think she was pregnant in one of them. She looked pregnant.
I think she might have been pregnant in the second one, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the one she was pregnant in.
I've just never really thought she looks that great.
I will say, I'll add this. Look, one of the stars in Argylle is Catherine O'Hara. She is. I think
Very
she's
good.
a comedic genius.
Yeah,
you give her nothing to do. If you cannot give her, who can really make anything funny, if you can make her just awful and boring, you've done something wrong. But this whole thing, we're not making Citizen Kane. So basically what you're saying to me is, I wasn't making a good movie. I know I'm not making a good movie. I know I'm not going to make a film that will stand the test of time. I'm just making some disposable garbage, but I'm supposed to spin it into a lot of sequels and the whole cinematic universe and tie it into the larger Kingsman universe. Like, really, I don't remember much about Kingsman, the Kingsman universe. Again, it's just really, for me, insulting. Go and make the best movie you can. Aim to make Citizen Kane. Believe me, Boy Kills World is much better, because at least
here's the problem. When they do try to make Citizen Kane, they make movies like Moonlight. So that's probably not good advice to give them either. And the wrap this one up here. Neil Zoe asked this question:
or the Power of the Dog.
Or Shape the Water, which is even worse. The Argylle up there with the worst. No, not for me. It's bad. It's certainly. All honesty, Argylle might not make my top 10 worst movies of the year. It's at 9 for me this year. Now I've seen a few more terrible movies than a couple of these guys have, so I have a little bit more retrospective on what's absolutely dog water. But I think we've seen mostly the same films. Like I said, it's definitely a bad movie. I'm not going to defend it in any way, shape, or form, but they're certainly far worse than that just this year alone.
I have to judge. I judge every film this year against, would I watch this or would I watch Argylle? And so far, I would watch things like The Fall Guy and even Furiosa, then watch Argylle again. All right. I mean, Joyride
you still haven't watched Babes yet, so and you're ducking that movie because you know that it's going to be worse than
I'm not going to watch Babes. I'm not going to spend money on it. I'm not gonna spend money to watch Babes. Come on. I know we're in the middle of the Biden boom, but I don't make enough to deliberately go see. And by the way, for the record, I spent 24 cents to watch Furiosa. So I consider myself very lucky.
No wonder they didn't make any money on that movie.
Madam Web was not worse than Argylle. I'm sorry. It
Yeah,
wasn't. That's how bad Argylle was.
Madam Web is literally number 8
terrible,
for me.
and yet it wasn't as bad. So
yeah, I would sooner watch Madam Web. I thought that one.
No,
was more
see, I
entertaining.
can't agree with that because there's literally like scenes in like Madam Web where I was like, are they even trying to make them? Do they need the cameras on? Because the acting is just so bad.
the dubbing,
is like
the dubbing
Madam
of the
Web-
villain was terrible. There were technical problems with the movie where it was like, are they trying to make a failure here?
But you had Sylvia Sweeney dancing on a table, okay?
Sydney,
whatever.
Dancing to Britney Spears.
Yeah, she was
It's
dancing.
Even though they're
100
supposed to be
million.
16, but they're like 30.
It's $100 million Marvel The Room. That's the best
Yeah,
way to
it
put it.
really is.
And The Room is at least a bad. It's so bad it's good kind of movie. At least you can enjoy it on that level.
I could do kind of that with Madam Web.
Yes,
Kinda.
you see,
I
I
can get there.
kind of enjoy
With enough drinks,
Madam
yeah.
Web. Yeah, you can enjoy Madam Web for just how bad it is. Almost like Showgirls. But I can't enjoy Argylle.
Except for no one gets naked.
I can't enjoy Argylle because almost from the beginning, I just said, this is really dumb. And then as it moves along, it just grows more and more dumb, more and more over the top, more and more
Look, the
nonsensical.
biggest plot hole with Argylle here, and we're to move on, I swear, but the biggest plot problem with Argylle is that, okay, so she was a spy like 10 years ago. Okay, fine, I can buy that, but it's like she clearly looks like a housewife like now. It's like they're not going to even address the fact that it's like, okay, maybe I was a spy 10 years ago, but clearly I haven't been active quite literally for quite some time. I can't just go back into the field. Like, in this movie, they just go right into it. It's like, we're not even going to address the fact that, she's at least 40 pounds heavier than she was in the flashbacks of the movie. So it's like, it's guys, stop. What are we doing here?
All the hate on this is really making me want to watch it now, though.
It's on Apple
very
TV to
interested.
stream. So
It's
there
on
you go.
Apple TV.
Here's the thing,
I don't
though.
have Apple TV, and I will not pay to see the movie. But I will watch it.
But here's
There's
the
always
thing. Like,
Russian news sites.
if you're watching it because you want to see just how bad it is, I feel like, yeah, it's gonna be bad, but it's not gonna be nearly as bad as Rick's making it out to be, because Rick's a charlatan. That's why Matt.
How am I a charlatan? I'm not out there saying that everything's great. It's terrible. It is.
I like to find things
absolutely
out for
terrible.
myself. So, I mean, I might end up loving it because I love a lot of terrible things. So,
Hey,
Actually,
me
there's
too.
one more
It's
thing
just
to point-
usually trashy, and this is not trashy at all. So I was disappointed.
There's also just one more thing we can blame Ryan Johnson on.
Yeah, it's also subverting
his
his expectation.
expanded
He subverting our expectations. That guy needs to be thrown in.
Gosh,
Gitmo
no,
for what
no,
he's done
no.
to
The last
cinema.
thing we need is for Benoit Blanc to pop up in an Argylle 2. So we
Well,
could
they're
have
already
that.
making another one, and apparently
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan's going to be in it. So now you know it's going to be
And
great.
Glenn Close. So there you go.
Well, here's our closer, and the reason why this is our closer, because this is going to be a long, detailed discussion here, because I got a lot to say about this one. If you're you guys who have been listening to us long enough, you guys have heard us talk about Caitlin Clark over the course of the last 6 months. So just for you guys who are just joining us and don't really know much of the context going on here, Caitlin Clark is a very, very popular female basketball player. She was at the University of Iowa for about 4 or 5 years. I think it was only just 4 years, actually. And she's one of the biggest stars, arguably the biggest female star ever in college basketball. She drew so many viewerships as far as like television, live attendance. Everyone was all in on Caitlin Clark. And it was kind of a no-doubter that she'd be the number one pick in the WNBA. She set quite literally the record for the most points scored in college basketball, man or woman, like literally a once in a generational type of player. However, over the last several months, there has been a extreme hatred towards Caitlin Clark, and it's coming from one very specific group, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, and that is primarily Black women, and more specifically, Black lesbians. Now, when you look at the makeup of the WNBA, which I would say, if we're being honest with ourselves, probably 70% lesbian and probably another, let's say 80-ish% like Black. she is not being very well received in the WNBA right now. There's been a lot of quote unquote hot takes about how the only reason why she's getting all this attention is because of her white privilege, and she's only being popular because she's white, and she's taking away all the shine from all the black and lesbian players in the WNBA. And this whole thing's been going on forever. We talked about the Cheryl Swoop situation months ago when she said that she's only being popularized because she's white, and everyone's jumping all over this. This thing hit a fever pitch last Saturday. Last Saturday, it was the Chicago. I don't even remember what the name of the team is. That's how much I care.
Sky?
And then that team and the Indiana Fever. They were playing on Saturday. It was Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. And then this play happened. So I'm going to show you guys this play. And it's basically, I think it was like right off of a rebound. This woman here, who I believe her name is, I'm not even making this up here. This is how ghetto this woman is. Her name is Kennedy Carter. However, she spells her name Chenedy Kennedy. So that's her name here. Shocker. She is also black, and she is also a lesbian as well. So that goes to tell you like what's happening here.
I can
this
tell
is the
by
play
the
that
shoulders.
yeah, right. This is the play off the ball. Caitlin Clark does not have the ball. She's not in the play. This woman comes from behind her as they show in the replay, screams at her, calls her an effing bitch, and then basically just like hip checks her. This is what happened.
Yeah, they haven't inbound the ball yet. Like you see,
at
the baseline.
You see her coming up behind her saying "effing bitch" and then knocks her down. And she doesn't even have the ball, which everyone saw. This was a blatant cheap shot, and this is not the first blatant cheap shot on Caitlin Clark that we've seen in her first 10 games as the WNBA star here. This has been the norm here ever since she's come around. So this sparked a massive debate on a lot of the media networks over the course of the last couple of days here. People have now gotten into fights on live on air, gotten into fights arguing over this whole situation. And here's the thing. Stephen A. Smith, and we'll definitely get to Stephen A. Smith here, but so what happened is that when people saw that on Saturday, with all the other clips and all the other statements that have been made about Caitlin Clark over the last several months now, everyone is making the point that, okay, look, clearly these women are jealous and envious of Caitlin Clark. And let's be very, very clear about why they are jealous and envious. She is the antithesis of everything the WNBA stands for. She is white, she is heterosexual, and she's a Catholic. And this is coming from someone who's not a big fan of the Catholics, but let's call it exactly for what's going on here. These women are who despise her because they have racial envy about her, sexual envy about her. Obviously, she represents everything they don't stand for. Everyone saw that as like, okay, you guys need to stop. Charles Barkley has called out and said, you guys need to stop being petty. LeBron James, of all people, have come out and called out the women of the WNBA. Matt Barnes, so many other people have been like, you guys need to stop. This is your cash cow. You're literally blowing your only chance of ever being relevant. Because let's be honest, WNBA has been around for almost 30 years, and literally no one has cared until Caitlin Clark has shown up. Because as I've said this before, and I will say this until I am blue in the face, no one wants to watch unattractive lesbians play bad basketball for 40 minutes. You guys can fight me as much as you want to. That is the absolute reality.
Right. They'll take 7.
I mean, not unless the lesbians are actually getting it on. So
you can
and you don't want these lesbians getting it on.
Yeah, you don't want to see that, dude.
Yeah, these lesbians look like Tayshaun Prince. You don't want to see them getting it on.
You know what's
At
funny
least
about
in volleyball, the women are hot.
There you go. You know what's so funny about all this is that she is their meal ticket. Their success now and in the future is dependent on Caitlin Clark. And the idea that like she has to like she's, you know, the league is tough and she has to learn that, she's not going to get a free pass. It's like, that's not what this is. This is not, listen, she was rookie of the month. She is outperforming veterans. She is doing a great job. She's not getting
any. To be fair, she isn't even really playing well yet.
She's on one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, you can add all this stuff up. The ratings are through the roof. Ticket sales are through the roof. People want to see Caitlin Clark. They don't want to see what's her name? Angel Reese. They don't want to see these other women. It's like
they don't want to see Brittany Griner.
She is the reason that people are paying attention to the WNBA. And Cassie's right. I don't want to be talking about the WNBA. I don't want to be talking about women's sports. They're irrelevant. They're a niche interest. And it's like, that's why I feel like this entire thing is manufactured. You know what I mean? To make the WNBA be talked about in the context of the news cycle. But look, all things being fair, I actually feel bad for Caitlin Clark because all she's doing is playing her heart out, trying to help her team win, trying to be part of the league. And everybody seems entitled, bitter, and jealous of the attention she's getting. But the thing is, she is more talented than you are. That's why she can draw a crowd. That's why people want to see her play. The night and day difference between her play and the play of the average WNBA player is, it's apples and oranges. So it's like, take all of this in stride, be a little humble, have some humility, and appreciate what she's doing for you.
But they cannot have that humility, especially because they are absolutely convinced that people should be watching them. These other players whom I'm sure none of us have ever heard of or would even know off the street. We are supposed to bow down to them and say, oh, you're this great figure. You're this great basketball player. You can do all sorts of remarkable things. The fact that they have never attracted attention, but this one individual has, that is what is enraging them. I don't know if it's specific to the race or sexuality. That might play a role, but it's the fact that no one cared about their sport until this particular player came along, but it wasn't any of them. That is what is just having them tear their hair out. Yes, remember what was that parade that they had, that victory parade? It was in Las Vegas and nobody showed up.
Right.
Yeah, I actually think that might have been like Chicago, or like no one showed up. I remember that video. I'll look for it here too. But real quick here. So what's been happening ever since this whole incident happened, and I'll play a couple of the interviews here, but ever since then, you've had a number of former NBA players who, let's be very, very honest here, are almost exclusively Black lesbians, go on ESPN and attempt to gaslight the audience into thinking that what's happening with Caitlin Clark is not hatred, is not jealousy, is not envy. Yet their way of going about it only further proves that it is in fact hatred, jealousy, and envy. Here's one former player here trying to gaslight you into thinking that, oh, there's nothing really going on here with Caitlin Clark, at least on our end.
So this is my State of the Union WNBA edition. Let's start with the play. For those who may be new to this, the WNBA has always been a physical league full of competitive fire and trash talk. And on the full sequence of that play, Caitlin was talking. And in this league, no one backs down to trash talk. Now, I have played with Kennedy Carter, and her choice to retaliate on a non-basketball play was literally foul and something that she has struggled with her entire career. That was not okay. But one player's approach is not indicative of an entire league. All rookies, especially number one picks, I know what it's like, have been tested mentally, physically, emotionally, from Candace Parker to Sabrina Ionescu to Kelsey Plum to Skylar Diggins-Smith. And a few days ago, Alyssa Thomas was just ejected for a hard play on Angel Reese. Plays like this happen in sports, but now it's being used to further agendas that don't serve the game.
They were
so when it comes to women's athletes, there's this expectation that players in the heat of the game should constantly stop what they're doing and be appreciative of Caitlin. They should bow down instead of being the competitors that they are. These women are elite basketball players.
That's all the straw, man.
These women, dude, women just
we all know and we appreciate the unparalleled amount of growth and attention that Caitlin, I'm her biggest fan, is driving to help become the beacon of so much interest and engagement and viewership to this game. But that narrative that actually
Bitch, why are your legs crossed?
Because the ones who grind through that type of grind,
what, you got cankle problems?
Beasts. This is not hate. This is hoops. Like any other sport
her arms
that is professional at the highest level. And I hope.
So if this is the highest level,
this is fucking horse shit.
Let me say this.
Let me just stop right there. She rattled off a list of players. I am sure none of us know who any of those women are.
Only because Darren Waller divorced.
Here's the thing, though, and Beverly will agree with me on this. Us women, we can't stand each other. We just can't. We never get along, and all the stuff that's happening on the court is literally stuff
pretty normal.
all the time. This is just women shit. We just are petty, we're bitchy, and we do this on a
That's why
regular
I don't
basis.
normally talk to women.
That's why they upgraded it to a flagrant foul.
Well, here's the problem though, is that they didn't call the foul on Kennedy Carter. They called all the tough
they
plays
gave her
that she used
one
after the fact. Yes, after the fact.
Yeah,
Those free throws aren't coming back. So after the fact. So and here's the problem is that it's inconsistent. What you're trying to say they're apples and apples and it's apples and oranges. It's the tough calls are being called on the people fouling Caitlin Clark. 60-65% of the time. All the other examples that she used, fouls were called. As she said, what's face got thrown out of a game because it was a flagrant. And it's like that's what people are complaining about. It's that the officiating is not being equal, and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
And like I said, it's the hate is getting so bad. Like it's noticeable when you're watching these games. The players don't like her. Her own teammates don't like her. She's not getting protected by the ref. She's not being protected by her own coach. And quite honestly, until that video went viral last Saturday, the league really hasn't said anything about this. So it feels like people are watching this and saying that, wow, this poor girl is really just getting beat up here by this entire league and no one's saying anything about it. And it wasn't until this whole thing went viral and everyone started noticing, like, wow, the WNBA is a really, really terrible league, that all of a sudden all these people start coming out of the woodwork being like, no, wait, we need to defend our image here, the image of the WNBA, which, let's be honest, what image is there really here? So
you're trying to defend their image when this is just what women do all the time. They're jealous of each other. Like, I saw this something on Twitter yesterday where they're like, oh, if women ran the world, there would be no wars. It's like, really? Really? Look at the WNBA. It's ran by women. And there's a war going on right now.
No, there would be no wars because some woman would blow it up when she's on her period.
You want to know what I find interesting?
What?
I think it's either Kennedy Clark or Angel Reese. One of them has a fucking rap sheet for violent crime.
No, that would be Kennedy Clark.
Carter.
She's already been kicked off of 2 WNBA teams due to personnel issues, but now all of a sudden she's like the hero because she went after Caitlin Clark during the game. So this is Angel Reese here. If you guys know Angel Reese, her whole career quite literally started when last year when they played Iowa in the national championship game. She taunted Clayton Clark after they won, and then she became like a star in college basketball. Now she's on Chicago, so they're trying to build like this whole Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing, like it's the new like Larry Bird, like Magic Johnson thing. She didn't say anything after the game, but then of course she came out like a couple of days later once, like I said, the whole thing went viral. And this is how she went to try to defend her teammate in this whole perception that the league hates Caitlin Clark.
It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. It all.
You want to be known for
Right,
being
literally, she wants everyone to know that. Hey guys, by the way, the reason why people are watching women's basketball is because of me too. It's not just because of Caitlin Clark. So don't give her all the credit. Give me the credit.
This bitch is so fucking delusional. I'm sorry, I gotta say this. This bitch is so fucking delusional. The fact that she actually thinks, oh, it's gonna be me that they're gonna remember. Yeah, you want to be remembered infamously, meaning in not a positive light. You want to be remembered as the fucking dyke bitch that is jealous of a white chick because she's getting a little bit more fucking attention than you. Grow the fuck up. Why don't you? Something needs to fucking. They need to change the name of the WNBA to Orange is the New Black.
And again, it goes back to that idea that these women
fucking
who have been
trash.
playing, and I'm assuming that this person also came in the same year as Caitlin Clark, they genuinely believe that they are superstars, that they are on the same level as a LeBron or a Magic Johnson in his heyday, or someone in that category, that there are these great people that people have images of and will build statues to. They genuinely cannot believe that people do not know who they are, would not know them on the street, and would have no idea what they do for a living. And this one person, Caitlin Clark, she comes, she's getting attention, she's drawing attention to this league, and suddenly they are just angry.
And real quick before Rob goes on here too, and you have to keep this in mind. They just started getting chartered flights this season, and that was because of Caitlin Clark. They were flying Spirit Airlines before Caitlin Clark came around because they could not afford any other airlines due to how much they're getting paid by the league. So they're getting more attention and more, I guess you could say, perks now. More perks now than they were getting beforehand, and they absolutely hate the woman who's getting, because she's the one that's getting all the attention. Here's another woman. This is the woman who went after Stephen A. Smith here yesterday on First Take, and she went on Shannon Sharp show to defend herself. Once again, they're trying to say that it's not about jealousy, it's not about envy. Everything they say only clarifies the fact that it is about jealousy and it is about envy.
I get that we are at a special place when it comes to women's basketball and the growth of the game and all of the eyeballs. I think what I was frustrated by in our conversation earlier is that we can hold more than one truth, y'all. Like the idea of some players being jealous, yes, that probably exists. But I think in Caitlin's debut, since she has made her debut, there's been a large and loud clamor or push, yes, that is Caitlin versus the W. Okay. And that is unfair. Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros, right? Yeah. I just need us all to do a better job of holding room for multiple truth. Jordan as a rookie, multiple truth, Joe, right? LeBron as a rookie, like Wemby as a rookie. When you look at guys that have gone on to be great, I'm sure they would not say their rookie years were cakewalks. Now, in the case of LeBron, and if we use Wemby this year, they have physically dominant and powerful statures. And so maybe that has allowed them to skirt some of the curve. But Caitlin is a guard coming from college. She got to get her weight up. The W has to continue to allow her to be one of the leaders of this platform, as Angel Reese has also been, because I know that's going to be a hot topic tomorrow. And so my whole thing is just, it doesn't have to be either or. It can be both. But the prevailing idea that it's the W versus Caitlin and that these women don't understand the power of the eyeballs and the audience that she's helped grow the league to, that's just unfair.
I want to play something here in a second from Pat McAfee, because Pat McAfee yesterday got in trouble because he basically took a sledgehammer to this entire idea that, oh no, it's not just Caitlin Clark that is the reason why people are watching games. It's Angel Reese too. It's all these other, it's the rookie class. He absolutely took a sledgehammer to everything and said that, no, that's complete bullshit. But I know Rob is going to make a point there, so I want to go back to Rob here first.
I just wanted to say, Angel Reese, her NBA comparison is like a veteran minimum big man who puts up 7 points a game and 10 rebounds. Like Greg Ostertag. Greg Ostertag was this center forward for the Utah Jazz. Didn't score at all. He never scored. But yeah, he could get you 17 rebounds a game. That's what we're talking about here versus a star like Caitlin Clark, who NBA equivalent is putting up like 27 to 30 a night. You know what I mean? And whatever. Like, again, I make fun of women's basketball because it's like, oh, hey, you got half your points at the free throw line. That's really efficient shooting. But no, it's, whatever. And sometimes NBA stars get away with that. Joel Embiid, that's a big complaint about him. You get, you're going to score 50 points. It's like 21 came at the free throw line. But in all honesty, it's like, that's what we're talking about here. Nobody really has the star power as well as the growth to become even better over time. And so it's like none of these players match up to Caitlin Clark. They aren't the ones getting butts in seats. That's a disingenuous argument. That is like straight up, okay, you're lying. You're lying for a narrative purpose because you want to not hurt the feeling of hulking black lesbians. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's what you're doing. You're holding their hand because they are insecure, they don't have any self-respect, and are bitter about someone that's more successful and is going to bring more to the game than they ever could.
Yep. Beverly, let me get your thoughts on this one real quick before I play the Pat McAfee video. Just kind of what you've consumed about this whole situation and how Caitlin Clark has been treated by this league here.
Well, I'm kind of having interest waning because there's only so much sports that I can really pay attention to generally of either gender. But I have to back Caitlin Clark though because she has my last name, so represent. But yeah, no, I think overall, I think Nerdigan's made a good point that like women, I would say it's probably like something in like a biological thing of women are going to be generally competitive with one another though, because you're trying to stand out in like a inherently reproductive way. So, and I think that that's your natural disposition. So you kind of have to like overcome that to just be more friendly. Or if there aren't any men ever around, then you don't need to be competitive. But even in like, you're going to have audiences and stuff too. So they're going to care about that. And I'd say that lesbians don't care about men as much, but they're still going to be competitive among other women too. So I don't know. I think it's unfair to Caitlin for that, but at least she's making a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's most important.
Somebody pointed this out too, and I thought it was brilliant. Like Angel Reese was trying to take credit for like the rise of like the WNBA, even though everyone knows that's a lie. I think she's like in the top 5 in rebounding right now for a rookie. However, she's only shooting 35% from the field in her game so far, which means that she's quite literally leading the rookies in rebounding because she's rebounding her own missed shots. That's like what's happening there.
No,
so it's stat padding at a ridiculous level right now. That's what is going on over there. But so Pat McAfee did his show yesterday, and he got into trouble because of a word that he used to describe Caitlin Clark, but he was doing it in an endearing way. I'll show it to you guys here. But he's been the only person on the entire ESPN platform who has been like, you know what, I'm actually going to defend Caitlin Clark, unlike you other people who are trying to make it seem like somehow she's the bad guy here. And then he took, like I said, a complete sledgehammer to this whole notion that somehow, it's about all the other players outside of Caitlin Clark. Just watch this.
Yeah, or the ex-WNBA players. There seems to be this notion, and maybe we're wrong on it, that this isn't this whole evolution of success and popularity in the WNBA is because of this entire rookie class.
Yeah.
It's a next generation. I think there's a chance that Kennedy Carter there of Chicago, whenever she's going to Caitlin, you see Angel Reese get all jacked up about it and celebrate it. I think that's because she thinks Angel Reese deserves more credit than what she's getting. Caitlin's getting all this credit. You know, you hear a lot of sports media. This is an entire class. This rookie class is the reason why this is happening. It's the next generation. Well, that's fun. Let's play a nice little game called Guess Which WNBA Rookie. Yeah. Welcome to a game show here at the Thunderdome. This is going to be fun. You know, this is pretty self-explanatory here. Guess which WNBA rookie. Any questions from the Thunderdome on how this will work?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's get to the first one. Let's just go ahead and kind of show you how this is going to go. 2024 WNBA Draft Night ratings. Okay, so which WNBA rookie do you think was responsible for this? Well, easy answer. Boom, hit it. All 3 of them.
Wow. Okay.
Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, ushering in a new era of popularity of women's basketball. The WNBA, largest viewership in WNBA history.
Wow.
A lot of eyes on the draft. Who's going where? We already know, but we want to tune in.
Of course.
That's WNBA football, baby. That's what the new era is. Okay, let's go to the next slide here. TV ratings on NBA TV. Now, this is the only true comp because one of them has played many more games on ESPN and ABC than the other two.
Sure.
The NBA TV ratings, I think, are a good comp just strictly because not everybody has it. You don't really hear about it as much. If you were to guess which one's which here, because one of these rookies is playing in Los Angeles,
Yep.
second largest
Big
city in the United States of America.
That's right.
The other rookie playing in Chicago, which is third largest
for now
city in the United States of America, and the other one's playing in little old Indianapolis. Little old Indianapolis. So if we're guessing here, what do we think? What do we think the ratings are?
And it's probably Clark because not allowed, right?
Okay, not allowed to probably. All right, so we got Clark probably
NBA
here.
TV, that's where the true ballers ball. So that's Angel Reese is probably.
Okay, so we got Angel Reese here, and then we got Caitlin Clark here, not applicable because probably because a lot of her games ESPN or whatever ABC, and then we got Cameron Brink here.
It's gotta be, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get it. No, Caitlin Clark here, 333,000, 3x. This one here, even more so. And then I don't know if she's played a game on NBA TV. Okay, so that's this one.
Okay.
The order will not be the same of the rookies across the top. Let's go to the next one, shall we? Times player has participated in a top 5 rated game this season.
Okay.
Okay, in viewership. 2-0, okay, in 4 here. Obviously, every single rookie has had an opportunity to participate in a game that could be rated, depending upon where you're looking at. Top 5 rate. What are we thinking here? Remember, we got Chicago and LA competing against Indianapolis, Indiana here.
I believe Cameron Brink is the 4. Big Lights, Big City, LA. That would make sense.
Brink here. Okay, who do we have here? Angel, probably?
Probably Angel.
Maybe. And then I guess Caitlin will be here too.
Yeah.
A lot of hype. At least the first game.
Exactly.
Has to be something. Let's go to it. No, shit.
Whoa.
This is this right here.
Caitlin Clark again?
Whoa, wait a minute. Well, let's go to the. You did?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Chicago. Trip up. This is a team effort.
Wait, what?
So he just went on, like, just showing you that all of the rookie stats, all the rookie numbers, from viewership to televised games to fan attendance, everything that's going on here in this league, it's all because of Caitlin Clark. I'm sorry, Angel Reese, you're not the draw of this show here. And I just want to show you this one last video. If he'll come up here, let me see if. Oh yeah, I have to do this. Yeah,
Can I say this real quick? That was stupid that Pat McAfee apologized.
Well, here's the thing. So he basically said, at the end of that whole thing, so people try to make it seem like, no, it's the rookie class, and that's the reason why everyone's watching WNBA. It's like, no, it's this one white bitch in Indiana that's the reason why anyone's even giving a crap about the WNBA. Then people pretended to be upset. It's like, oh, he said white bitch. How dare he attack Caitlin Clark like that? Then like the day later, Caitlin Clark says, like, I literally didn't care about like what he said there, because she understood the point that he was trying to make. But this was at the game that was in New York here. This is Caitlin Clark literally taking a picture, I think, during the warm-ups with a whole group of young people who all showed up to Madison Square Garden to watch her play. So this is the woman that everyone hates because she's white, she's straight, and she's Catholic, which is the antithesis of being a WNBA player in modern day.
And can we point out that, like, she's an approachable ambassador for the game. Do you think the other people, the majority of the WNBA, are super approachable and friendly? And this is why they hate it. This is why they hate it, because it's like, it's the antithesis of everything they are. They are bitter, they are entitled, they are untalented compared to this woman they hate. This is why. It's like, it's their nightmare, and yet it's the key to them being successful in the future, financially and in just the league and league wide, it being successful, it being something that society cares about. And they're shooting themselves in the foot because they'd rather be territorial bitches. I mean, it makes no sense. And it's
they rather the entire WNBA burn to the ground than to have Caitlin Clark be the face of it.
But and I really don't want to. Well, whatever. I'll be a sexist. The fact that like a group of men see the bigger picture and are just like, hey, whatever, we're here to play a game and like win a championship, whatever. Like all the women are too like preoccupied with their fucking tribal drama bullshit to see the bigger picture. It's quite amazing.
That's because men. Hold on. That's because men are straightforward and women are not.
Well, Rob is very straightforward, that's for sure. I'll say that it is kind of going against their own interests. In a certain way, they could just say, all right, so we'll let her be the face. If that's what it takes to draw audiences to come to the games, to get the merchandise, to watch us on television, all the better, we all benefit. But instead, they've decided that they're going to go after her, maybe because, again, of racism or sexism or sexual orientation. I can't say for sure. But what do I always say to Jacob about him not voting against his own interest? That's all I can think about. They are voting metaphorically against their own interests, kind of like the people in Hawaii.
Apparently, they really like Spirit Airlines.
The people in Hawaii who will vote for Joe Biden, even though he'll send more money to Ukraine and Gaza than to them after their homes burn down. But it's just this weird idea that these players have, that we're not going to celebrate someone bringing people in. Instead, we're going to say, no, it should have been us, or it should have been a black woman, or it should have been a black lesbian. And we want us. We want us to be the draw. We don't want this straight white Catholic woman to be the draw. Instead, it should be us, or it should be someone like us. And we'd rather see this whole thing destroyed than try to build it up because it's one person. It's a strange concept to me. Because again, if I were a player, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy. I'd be happy that someone's drawing attention to our league, which nobody has cared about for 30 years. But now some people are.
Here's what I really think it comes down to, and we'll wrap things up here in just a second here. This is what I really think it comes down to. It's the fact that she's a threat to the league on two fronts. One is because she's bringing in an audience that's a complete antithesis of what the WNBA wants. Because, like I said, the WNBA, if we're talking about like woke politics, they probably are the single worst sports organization in the entire country. Worse than the NBA, worse than the NFL, whatever league that you've probably had ire with over the last several years over what political stance they've taken. The WNBA is by and large far worse than that combined. But here's what they're really afraid of. Remember that video I just showed a second ago about her meeting like the group of kids? They're worried about her having such an influence over the game that over the next, let's say 5, 10, 15, 20 years, all of these young girls who all idolize Caitlin Clark are going to start getting into women's basketball because they want to be just like her. And then the next thing you know, over the next 10, 15 years, the complete face of the WNBA completely changes away from essentially black lesbians to a more quite literal diverse group of people. This is the same thing that happened with Seth Curry, right? Seth Curry, when he became, the three-point merchant 10 years ago and the Warriors were winning all these championships, all of a sudden the entire foundation of the league completely changed. Now the league is basically a three-point shooting competition, right? Everyone's hitting threes now. There really is no inside defense. There is no more in the paint when it comes to the NBA because all these kids who have grown up on Seth Curry have now modeled their game on Seth Curry, and they're afraid that that's going to happen with the WNBA. The entire face of the WNBA is going to change over the course of the next 10 years. And to that, I say good, because as I said before, for 30 years, you guys have been running this league. No one has cared. And let's be very, very honest. If this league was not quite literally subsidized by the NBA, this league would have died 30 years ago. To put this in perspective, the revenue for the WNBA last year was $60 million. To put that in perspective, AEW, which is a third-rate pro wrestling organization, had a revenue of $175 million. 3 times the revenue of the WNBA, and no one watches it. Even fewer people are even heard of it. So that's where you are at right now as a sports league, and you are chasing away probably a generational meal ticket because of petty jealousy, envy, and racism, if we're being completely honest with ourselves here. So way to go, girls. Keep flying Spirit. And maybe you guys are going to do a Frontier in the near future. That's where you guys are heading.
It's very territorial, the way you make it sound. It's very territorial, and now they've found that this one player is, quote, invading their territory, their space, so they're going to push back and try to push her out of it so that they could reclaim the territory that they believe is theirs. But they're only making it a niche thing. And it's counterproductive, but they are so determined and so obsessed with it's my turn, it should be me. Why is this player getting the attention when it should be me? It's again counterproductive. It's strange to me, but if that's the way they want to go, they're going to have to learn the hard way that if they push her away, or if they decide, well, we're not going to make her the face of this sport, then fine. She'll end up going off, maybe getting endorsements. She probably does, and then the others will be left to founder.
You're only going to get one shot at this. And if you start chasing away the audience who are tuning in just to watch Caitlin Clark because they're going to start smarting up to the fact that you guys hate her and you're trying to chase her away, any chance of ever growing this league past this season will be dead. Like, if Caitlin decides that she's going to go to Europe and play basketball, or she's going to start her own league, and keep in mind, she still has a $5 million offer to play in Ice Cube's league, the Big Three. So she could just go there and wait far, but she's only getting paid like $75,000 a salary to play in the WNBA, and this is what she's putting up with. So it's like, from a financial standpoint, she can make far more money somewhere else if you guys really want to chase her away.
Doesn't she have endorsements of some kind?
Yeah, I mean, she's making like millions from endorsements, but it's like a base salary at the WNBA. She's only getting paid like $75,000 like a year. That's where she's at right now. And that's the typical WNBA pay. So it's like you're barely making more than like a warehouse at like Lowe's, a manager at a warehouse at Lowe's. That's pretty much where you're at here. So. And then the one last thing here. So Stephen A. Smith got cooked on his own show yesterday because he brought in a couple of black women who quite literally disrespected him on his own show. And instead of, taking a stand on here, he basically kowtowed to the Black Lives Matter delegation of the show. This was him earlier today, basically making the case that, yeah, actually the whole reason why people dislike Caitlin Clark is because of race. So this was Stephen A. Smith trying to play both sides on this issue here.
Nothing anybody said is wrong. And in at least a couple of instances, I think Shannon alluded to where I'm about to go. I'm a bit more direct with it. I just want to let the audience know that I'm going to stand alone on what I'm about to say. I don't want anybody else to be held accountable for where I'm about to go. But I'm going to go there because it's first take. And that's what we do on this show.
Just get to the point.
Even if it's just me. Caitlin Clark and everything that everybody is saying is fine. And we're looking at Angel Reese and what Angel Reese has said. And Angel Reese is absolutely right. I love Angel Reese. I'm a fan. And I think she's going to be a damn good player. And she's going to
You're a fan of a fucking felon.
She was a national champion. She deserves all the props and all the credit in the world. But let's keep in mind.
In an orange jumpsuit.
That was getting all the notoriety, despite the fact that she was a pretty damn good player. It was the fact that she was waving in Caitlin Clark's face. Because Caitlin Clark had been doing that to the competition before she ran into LSU in that NCAA tournament, and LSU took them out. And so what happens is she was throwing it right back in her face. And you had people saying, oh my God, how could she do such a thing? How could she do such a thing? And they didn't say the same thing about Caitlin Clark, which is why I'm gonna go where I'm going. Okay, let me see everybody up on the screen when I say this, please. Caitlin Clark is white. And
Breaking news.
She's white. And because she's considered box office and she's a star who happens to be white.
He sounded like Jerry Lewis in The Nutty Professor.
When I brought up words like envy or jealous or resentment, whatever word you wanted to pick, I didn't say it in a negative fashion like, oh my God, it's a problem. I used the word justified. You know why? Because black people throughout this country for years have felt that level of ire because we know we've got to be twice as good to get half as much. We know we've got to extend ourselves. We know we've got to put ourselves on Front Street to have a shot at getting half. Pick a profession. Pick a name. Ask yourself, pick the biggest star. Pick the biggest star in podcasts. Pick the biggest star in television. Pick the biggest star in sports, whatever. That's black. And ask yourself the question that we all ask. If they were white, what would they be? How much money would we get paid if we were white? How much success would we reap if we were white? How much endorsements would we get?
Just real quick, do you know what Caitlin Clark has said about black people up to this point? Fucking nothing.
Not a goddamn
dialogue
thing
that we're having on national television, all because she's white and she's good at basketball. This is how deranged she has made an entire community. And it hasn't gotten any better. It is going to get far worse before it ever reconciles here.
I am sure that every panelist on that show makes more than Rob or Orange or I
or Caitlin Clark, probably.
Or Caitlin Clark. And this whole idea, look, you can name people in all sorts of fields who are black, who are surprisingly successful. I mean, trust me, people will go see a Denzel Washington movie because he's one of the few names that will still draw an audience. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's black. People will say, oh, I'm not going to watch a movie because he's a black man. People know he's black. And what is it? Shonda Rhimes. People may not like her shows, but she has produced a whole lot of successful television shows. And she's black and she's a woman. It's an absurdity for him to say any of this. It's just this, again, this kind of very curious idea that you have to be twice as successful to earn half as much. I'm sorry, that's a cop out.
Let's be very clear here, and then we'll wrap things up. It's this. This is what happens when you live in a permanent victim bubble, where you have to be the biggest victim in the room at all times. It's like, and then the reason why Stephen A. even did this in the first place, because he had a woman on his show yesterday who was saying that, well, yeah, you may be a black man, but I'm a black woman, and being a woman is way tougher than being the man. So then he had to come back out here. It's like, well, I'm still a black man, and black people have it tough. Like, everyone's trying to out victim each other. This is the problem here. This is why Rachel Nichols is no longer on ESPN. Remember the whole situation with Rachel Nichols where she was calling out, I think it was Maria Taylor.
She was being racist.
ESPN. Yeah, and she was saying that, well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, she had it bad because, she's black, but, I'm still a woman, and I've been a woman, and I've had to suffer a lot. And then Black Twitter went after her, and then as a result of that outrage, they literally let her go from ESPN. I think she's on Fox now. She's no longer on ESPN. But essentially, Maria Taylor played her black woman card to trump her white woman card. It's all about being a victim, and this is why it's so exhausting now to be in a society where everyone is just in a race to figure out how many victim points they can tally up to their total, to the Trump being a bigger player than everybody else on here. Keep in mind, this used to be about sports. Rob knows about this. We said this many times before. We used to watch ESPN like all day, like 20 years ago. Like, we used to just watch like sports all the time, whether it was hockey, baseball, basketball. We didn't have to have these conversations. We just watched the game, and we had a lot of good time just watching the game. Now we have to sit here and have, Caitlin Clark scored 20 points against Chicago tonight. Let's have a discussion about white supremacy. It's like, why? Why do we need to have that?
I blame Keith Olbermann.
But I
also
remember
blame
when
Sonny Hostin.
But they
That's
played.
what Keith
They
Olbermann
played.
talks about sports, though.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they played Sports Center for like half the day. They played it from like 5 a.m. all the way to like 2. Like, and they just replayed it, and it was just great to kind of watch the replays, watch the highlights, and like get an entertaining spin on it. There was no political invective. There was no divisiveness. I mean, really, it was just like, hey, people want to see sports. Let's give them what they want. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be that difficult. So at this point, it's just like, this is just another thing to divide people in the media in America.
It's their job to educate us. It's their job to enlighten us. It's not their job to tell us about how good or bad certain players or certain teams are. It's their job to make us better people. And the only way we will be better people is if we agree with them on all matter of things. I mean, from whom you support to whom you rally around.
Making my brain hurt.
Just stating the facts here. Just stating the facts.
But I mean, there used to be, and just real quick, there used to be the show on ESPN called The Sports Reporters. It was on at like 7 o'clock and like a Sunday morning, and like that was old school journalism, like sports journalism. And half of those guys would be rolling over in their graves because they're dead now. So and the other one is like Tony Kornheiser, who I don't know how he's still hanging on. I'm pretty sure he's had to like stow some opinions, but so it's a shame what's happened, but yeah, this is like the political nonsense. People are sick of it, and now we're talking about women's basketball. So there you
go. Sorry, Eddie. I know we jumped you back in. It's too late, but you have any thoughts on the Kate McCart thing before we wrap things up and everyone can go home and go to sleep and go back to a life where the WNBA wasn't number one talk now.
7 foot tall lesbians should just handle balls and stop trying to pick fights.
Well, isn't that kind of the reason why they can't handle balls? So wouldn't that be kind of on brand for?
They should start handling balls better. Come on, get with it, girls.
Like I said, this situation is
fondle those nuts.
Like I said, this situation is only going to get worse before it gets any better. So But until then, we'll hopefully hear about how this is gonna escalate in the next week or two. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and sign off because it's getting late. We're past our peak here, so this is where I'm gonna shoot this over to you guys so that you guys can promote anything that you have coming up here on the show. And I'll let you know what is coming up on this show. So we got a couple of big things happening here. But first, I'm gonna start off with my man, Mr. Rob Motto. What do you got coming up, my friend?
Oh yeah, just a bunch of reviews I'm getting out. I am starting a new job here in a couple weeks, so that's great. I do have my list of 100 best westerns of all time that I am getting out probably no later than next week. I'm still trying to finalize some movies I need to watch for that list. And just, June should be a good month. Hitman is coming out on Netflix on Friday. We've got Horizon, the Kevin Costner Western, as well as the Bike Riders. So it hopefully is going to be a good month for movies. And I just saw Viggo Mortensen's new Western, The Dead Don't Hurt, which I highly recommend. It's my number 2 movie of the year, just behind Civil War. So I would definitely recommend go checking that out. If you can see it, I know it's only a limited release, but and then for all other movie stuff, just follow me on my Twitter.
All right, Nerdigans, you're up next.
So you can catch me on my channel, Nerdigans Inc., where I cover anime and manga content every day, and also on my Twitter right there, where I am exposing lots of fuckery, especially in terms of censorship. I will be on Bounding into Comics live stream tomorrow to discuss the entertainment news. And I have an article that should be going up hopefully soon, because I finally submitted my Ghost in the Shell article. I'm sorry it took so long to get it done, but it's been insane. And obviously Jacob mentioned it earlier, there is a video up on the channel that we did for covering Recess. And for those of you that missed it earlier, there's a lot of really good information in that video, detailing everything that was going on in pre-production and the pitch itself. Hopefully we'll do more retro wave stuff in that format, and we'll do a little bit more research, maybe even on some of the other pitches, and maybe we'll see if we can find some of them on Reddit, and maybe go, like, if I can find the Darkwing Duck one, maybe we'll talk about that one.
All right, CJ, you're up next.
Hey everyone, I'm back from Europe. Buy my books. I got that out, and that's like it. Yay. Have a good night. I'm tired. This has worn me out.
So someone who is Matthew Vaughn's least favorite fan, Rick Aragon. What are you doing? What you got coming up?
Yeah, I've just got more reviews. Hopefully wrapping up my Omen retrospective. I've got the Omen remake, and I'm hunting down the first Omen. I can't find it. For some reason it's no longer in theaters. I wonder why. So I've got that, and yeah, just more reviews, and just trying to get through life without ever going through a WNBA game. So far I've been successful. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys.
Orange.
Well, I have my Tuesday reviews, or Tuesday streams at 1:30 Eastern in the afternoon. June is trilogy month. Next week is going to be the ones and twos with my friend Mara Jade. We're going to be discussing Jurassic Park this month, and the singles are going to be exclusively on X, because fuck YouTube. We're going to be talking The Saint and Ghost in the Darkness over the next 2 weeks. For Thursday night, 8 p.m. Friday night is Orange Hat Uncensored. And I'll get content out as it comes out if there's anything interesting. Right now I'm covering a lot of the Alec Baldwin stuff and seeing how that's going, because it's rather important. But yeah. That's where you can find me on X and YouTube. So, yeah, have a good night. and fuck all those asshole bitches in the fucking WNBA.
Eddie.
Oh, hi everybody. You can catch. What can you do? Go to fandompulse.com. That'd be a great thing to do. You can catch up on the latest in pop culture media there. We're going over the more of Warhammer 40K stuff, and we're going to start going into a couple more things that will be a little bit more cooler. So Fandom Pulse, and I'm going to be doing a kick. I'm going to be doing kick streams where we're just going to kick back and watch whatever I can come up with. And they tell me I should be a reply guy, so why not be a reply guy on Kick? So meet me on kick.com/REALETHAL.
All right. And then, of course, our special guest who joined us here, who stayed up for the late hours tonight to be here with us tonight.
I'm used to being up till like 2 a.m., but I recently started a new job and stuff, so I've been like just adjusting my schedule. But I'm the dim side on everything. I don't really use anything except Rumble, and I have a Discord. They're both the dim side on there. We stream, my co-host Alex and I stream on Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern at night and Thursdays at 9:30 as well, which is funny that Nerdigan said about writing an article of Ghost in the Shell, because this Thursday we're comparing. I haven't seen any Ghost in the Shell ever, so we're watching the original animated movie and then the live action and comparing those two. But yeah, so come check us out on the dim side on Rumble, because I gave up on YouTube, at least as far as live streaming goes. I post like shorts and stuff if you want to watch farm videos for animal stuff. So I do have the dim side 45, I think is the user on there.
All right, then. And then letting you know what I got coming up over here. So I do have a couple episodes of Retro Wave that I'm still working on getting on YouTube. They'll probably be on Rumble as well as a good backup. So that's what's going to be coming up here in the next couple of days. Friday night, there will be a Friday night movie club. So me, Rob, and Rick will be back this Friday at 10 p.m. And we're going to be talking about the best and worst movies so far this year. Now we're basically going to give our top 5 best and worst movies of the halfway point of the year, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know what Rick's number 1 is without even watching that show. So that's what's going to happen on Friday night. That should be a good one. The Sunday night, which will be on 7 p.m., it will be our next episode of the Bible Lens. Last week's Bible Lens was first week of our Pride Month series. So we talked about the history of Sodom and Gomorrah last week. Now I'm going to talk about the demonic origins of the transgender movement, and this is where we start getting really deep into paganism and kind of the ideas of why so many people may be in fact changing their gender. Could they be following a certain pagan demon god that is directly referenced in the Bible? We'll talk about that on Sunday night. Got a couple other things that we'll be working on. I know we'll be doing the 01 stream tomorrow with Spencer, Nerdigan, Cider, Josh if he shows up. And I got a couple of movie reviews to do as well. And I got at least 11 movies that I need to catch up on, but we'll get through there like day by day. So got a whole bunch of content you guys should be checking out here in the next coming days. And by the way, just breaking news, because somebody just sent this to me. We were talking about Angel Reese a second ago. She just got ejected from the WNBA game later tonight because she was yelling at a referee. And the referee
hey guys, she got a double-double though. But again, 7 of her points came from the free throw line, and she was 3 of 12 from the field. So yeah, good job.
Yeah, and her 10 rebounds probably came from her own missed shots. But yeah, that's the real face of the league, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just Caitlin Clark. So there you go. But
she was ejected because of white supremacy. We don't know that.
Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what happened. Until then, thanks for Orange Hat and CJ who have to hop out there. But until then, thank you to obviously everyone joining us here in the chat tonight. For Neozoic, Spencer, Dante, Top Dog, Maurice, Delbafet, DK, Rooftop Korean, Zio, Alex, Bobby, Vanya, all you guys who joined us in chat. Cassie, I think I already gave a shout out to Cassie as well too. Thank you guys for joining us on this show. Hopefully we'll see you guys Friday night. If not, we'll see you on Sunday night. If not, we'll see you next Tuesday night for episode 103 of the Barroom Podcast. Now it's time for our awesome intro. Good night. Adios. And
bye. It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Okay.
Get out! Get out! You get the hell out!
Never mind who you thought I was. I'm Rick James, bitch.